Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another week of 3 Point Weekly. Standings predictions are in the books, and then we're now only 1 week away from the start of the regular season. And with that, it is time to give our NBA awards predictions from Coach of the Year and Clutch Player of the Year up to MVP. We'll give all of our predictions today from a week from the season. But throughout, be sure to give your predictions alongside us in the chat. Be sure to hit that like button down below and be sure to subscribe to be sure to stay tuned as we do continue to cover the NBA season starting next week. But we're going to get right into it today. No messing about. We're going to get right into the awards. We'll start with the only non player award and move our way in from there. So we'll start with you, Gabe. Random number generator has given me you today. Who is your three favorites for Coach of the Year this upcoming season?
Okay. All right. So there's usually a couple archetypes that these awards go to. And for Coach of the Year, it's usually the guy on the top seed, as we lose Reek here, or the coach of that breakout team who goes from out of the playoffs to suddenly being quite good. So in third place, I have Rick Carlisle coaching the Indiana Pacers. I thought, okay, yeah, the Pacers, they're going to take that jump this year. They're going to do quite well. I think most people are even projecting them to be like as high as a six seed, maybe some people a little bit higher, but I have them as a six seed, so above the play in range. And that'd be a fairly sizable jump. I think what holds him back, though, is that I don't see them getting to like top four range. And I also think a lot of people are expecting this jump. So even though it would be them getting a bit better, I think that just because people expect them to be better, it's not really going to catch people like in any sort of shock. At number two, I have Adrian Griffin coaching the Milwaukee Bucks. I think after the Dame trade, especially, this team is going to be very good. They're going to be a top seed, and he's also a first-year head coach. So I think he has the benefit of there's going to be a lot of eyes on this team, and I think there's a lot of nuances you could see in the Bucks where even though they've been good for years in the regular season, you can see more just Giannis as like a pick and roll man. You can see Giannis being the primary defender. You can see interesting pick and pop sets with like Brooke Lopez. Interesting plays to run with Middleton on the wing as like the off ball guy. There's a lot of things they can do with this team with this new roster construction that could make people say, hey, even though the Bucks have won games before, I think what they're doing right now, and if they end up being like some 60 plus win team, he could also see that award. But the guy I ended up going with as Mark Dagnall in Oklahoma City. Because I think most people by now are taking it as a safe bet that OKC is going to make that jump. And where I said the Pacers, they might not be like top four, I do think OKC has that kind of ceiling. I don't remember exactly where I predicted them in our standings predictions, but it was definitely pretty high, and I think higher than where I had maybe around like the same range. But I think in this dogfight that is the Western Conference, them having this breakout performance and getting to a higher seed will just catch the attention of so many award voters. And just the fact that they're so young and the fact that he's still a relatively new coach, I think will just a lot of narratives will be going in his direction. We know a lot of eyes will be on them, and them ending up in the upper echelon of this dogfight of 1 through 11 in the Western Conference could net him that award.
Sorry about that. I could not hear y'all once we went live. Like it tweaked out.
You're good. You're good. Just for continuity, you had OKC at seventh last week.
At seventh, I still think he's going to get the award. They're going to look good. They're going to look good, and they have a higher ceiling than that. Like I put them at 7, but I think Devin, weren't you like super high on them?
I had them at 4.
So yeah, if they reach that kind of ceiling, like he's netting that award for sure.
Yeah. We had the same top 3, just slightly different order. I had Adrian Griffin as my third guy. Just the chance of being the top team in the NBA. As a head coach, you're going to be in the running for that award, especially with this being his first season. Kind of has a little bit of a roster turnover from what they're used to in Milwaukee. So it'll be interesting to see just like how he reacts. I think he'll do a fine job, though, just with the talent that's there. They're going to win a lot of games. I had Rick Carlisle as my second guy. Look, we all consistently had like the Pacers, I think, as a top 6 team, or at least like a playoff team in our rankings. And, you know, he probably could have been in the running last year if like Tyrik didn't get hurt and everything. But I expect them to be as good of a team as they were last season, maybe even better consistently throughout the year. I mean, Rick Carlisle definitely deserves some love for that award, but I also had Mark Daigneault as my guy. Look, I had OKC as a top 6 team. If they make it into the playoffs, I think he's going to be really in that conversation. But if they're like a playoff lock, a top 6 team, he's definitely going to get heavy consideration for the award just because, we see it kind of like this is what the coach of the year trends a little bit towards is like that team that makes that drastic jump. And for them jumping from, out of the playoffs last season and really since, the 2020 season to being a solidified playoff team will really ring true. And he's somebody that's done, like, I think, a very good job just in this rebuild as a whole. And he definitely deserves his flowers for it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys as far as Mark Daigneault. I mean, you guys have said it all, so there's no real surprise that considering I'm the highest on OKC, I'm going to have him as the number 1 guy. But I do think he does have some competition. Tom Thibodeau is my number 3. We're all relatively high on how the Knicks are going to be as a regular season team, and this is a regular season award. I'm not buying into their postseason success yet, but I think Thibodeau can still, with this level of depth and this level of talent on this roster for the regular season, I think he'll be in with it a shout. And also no surprise for how I'm looking at teams making a jump in the regular season. Jamal Mosley is my number 2. I think the Orlando Magic are set for a big jump. Not quite as much as OKC are going to have. Probably not going to have the seeding or the record. And a moderately easier bottom half of the Eastern Conference compared to the West, but still going to be a great season for the Magic, and I think Jamal Mosley should get some credit for that.
Yeah, I think Mosley's a really good shout there. Just on those like teams who are expected to make jumps, I think those 3 that we've kind of covered are the main 3, unless somebody just makes a huge shock or I'm forgetting somebody really important. But yeah, I think there's like top seed guys or the teams who make the big jump is usually who wins this award. And I think Thibodeau's a good shout as well. I'm a bit hesitant on him just because he has been in New York for a while, and we've seen him win the award in New York already. So they might say, like he's had his time, he's had his shine, and we kind of know what to expect from the Knicks as far as being good versus like the shock and like the expectations coming out of nowhere. Like some other guys might have some better narratives. But as far as him getting votes, I do think he will.
Yeah, I felt the same way. Even though I had the Knicks as my 3 seed in the East, it's going to be tough for him to win the award again. Like I think they would have to like jump into the top 2 or like be like damn close to being like a top 2 team, like record wise in the Eastern Conference. But I think he'll be in the running, man, because I think the Knicks are going to be really good. But shout out to Jamal Mosley too. Like I would have had him if I had Orlando higher in my like Eastern Conference rankings, but if Orlando is as good as potentially advertised, like how some people feel like how Devin's very high on them, he's definitely going to be in consideration. He's done such a good job in his few seasons as their head coach, man. Like he deserves a lot more love than what he gets.
Definitely does. So we'll definitely see how that pans out. But hey, it's the theme that there's a lot of teams that we expect to take some jumps this year, and because of that, there's probably going to be a lot of new coaches that are potentially on the radar for Coach of the Year. Or in the case of Adrian Griffin, the fact that he's got his first head coaching gig. But we'll move off of the coaches. We're going to focus on the players for the rest of these award predictions, and we'll move to the newest award, no longer the inaugural award with the Aaron Fox winning it last year, but the Clutch Player of the Year award. We'll start with you, Reek. Probably the toughest award to predict, arguably with MIP.
Yeah.
But give it your best shot.
It's very tough. Like this was the most vibes award that I can like describe. Like it's really all vibes. My 3 was Trae Young. I just penciled him at 3 because I'm thinking the Hawks will probably be in a lot of like close games because their talent level isn't super high, but they'll be good enough. Like Trae Young's good enough down the stretch to win a lot of games. Like he's just that talented. And I could just see him like having a few game winners this year, like being near the top of the league in like fourth quarter points. My 2 was Damian Lillard. He's just always one of the most clutch guys in the league. Always puts up big numbers when it matters the most. And I went with Shea as my winner. I think Shea, for a team that's as young as they are, 2 OKC award picks already, but a team that's as young as they are, I can see them being in a lot of close regular season games. And Shea has proven time and time again he's one of the best in those moments. Hits a lot of big shots. Has already had a lot of big moments in his young career so far. Had a bunch of like clutch shots, game winners last season. I can see it happening again for him.
Listen, I love it. We had entirely different routes to get there, but we did eventually come to the same conclusion. So I can applaud you. At my number 3 spot, I had Jamal Murray. I think this team's going to have a lot of eyes on them off the back of the championship. And we know he was their closer throughout that playoff run, and I think he'll be their closer throughout this regular season. We know he's back full form. Jamal Murray, he's coming off injury or anything like that. A full year of just 3-level scorer, unguardable in the fourth quarter, Jamal Murray. And even if he might be a playoff riser, I still think he will do a lot of that throughout the 82 games, and it'll get him some nods for it. My runner-up was Donovan Mitchell. I think for that Cavs team, he's just going to be so explosive. He had a lot of iconic scoring moments for them last year. And once again, another good team who I think is going to get out of a lot of games because of him and his scoring ability. And then my number 1 was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. For a lot of what you said, I think they will be in a lot of those close games in that dogfight that is the Western Conference. And a player who's just unguardable as he is, the player who what he's going to do and he's still able to do it anyways, those performances and his ability to do that late in games will get him a lot of eyes on an OKC team that's already going to be under a lot of eyes because of how good they're going to be.
I like it. The OKC love is here, and I'm here for it. But there's no OKC love in my list. I will say that much. But I do have Donovan Mitchell on my list. He is at number 3. I'm right there with you, Gabe, in the sense that this is a good defensive team that a lot of nights just are good but not great offensively, and that defense is going to keep them in it, and they're going to need someone to close it out at the end of some games. So there's going to be a lot of nights where Donovan Mitchell's going to get to show up in some clutch moments. And number 2, I have Jalen Brunson. It's another guy who we continue to see late game, mid game, whatever it may be, mid-range 3-point shot. He just continues to make really timely, really important buckets for this Knicks team. And again, they're going to be in a lot of games. And as much as they're good, I don't expect them to be a team that's going to blow teams out regularly. So they should be in a lot of moments where Brunson can have that shine. And that's where I really picked that direction again for my first pick, a team that was outside of Miami in the most close games, late in games in last season. Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is my number 1 pick. And you could argue Luka here too, but Kyrie's just always been that guy as that closer. The guy's going to hit a perimeter shot late in games. Now, does he get that shine next to Luka? We'll see how that goes, and that could be his biggest problem with this award. But we know that Kyrie can be that type of guy late in games, whether it's getting to the rim with an acrobatic finish, whether it's a perimeter shot. He's done it time and time again. And Dallas is going to be a team this year, similar to last year, although maybe marginally improved, that is very good on offense, but isn't going to be great on defense. So there's going to be a lot of games where they're going to be battling right down to the wire. And I think they're going to have a lot of opportunities for Kyrie and also Luka to really shine. But I'm giving Kyrie that edge. I got him as my clutch player of the year.
I thought about both of those guys. I'm interested to see how much winning, being a playoff team, factors into this award, or is it just the big fourth quarter numbers? I'm so intrigued to see how that works out.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
Yeah,
that's why I didn't have Kyrie on my list, because I'm how good is Dallas going to be, especially in those close games? I don't know. It's weird to gauge.
Matter a lot.
Yeah, because it's such an award, though.
Well, I guess because when you're talking about clutch players,
yeah, right,
being clutch, you would win the game.
But what if Dallas? What if Dallas plays let's say 25 clutch games and they go 16-9, and Kyrie averages however many points in those close games or those clutch games, but they don't make the playoffs. Just say they're just bad outside of that, or just mid outside of that. I don't know how they would gauge that. De'Aaron was such a weird case because they were a really good team who was really damn good in crunch time, and it was because of him. So
yes, he wasn't clutch enough if they didn't miss the playoffs.
Just something to keep an eye on, I guess. I don't know, because Kyrie was really good last year. He was top 2 in fourth quarter points.
Yeah.
The Mavericks did. I was wrong. Mavericks actually had the most clutch time games last year. They were only 26 and 29 in them, but they did have 55 of them, which was 1 more than Miami and 3 more than Utah.
Those shootouts, though, that's honestly a good shout as far as looking at it. If you're in a shootout and it's just whoever gets the ball last, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of clutch moments, a lot of like game-winning type shots. That makes a lot of sense. I like that.
Yeah, that was my hesitancy against a guy like Dame, because I thought about Dame, but I was like, how many close games are the Bucks going to have? I don't know how many they're going to have. Like some nights they might, but if they're healthy, they're ready to go, the defense is locked in, it might be up by 20 going into the fourth on a lot of nights. So it's like,
Yeah,
Dame will probably have some moments because he has enough. That's the only thing. Similarly to Jamal Murray as well, although maybe to a slightly lesser extent.
That's fair. That's a really fair point. Interesting. This is going to be something to keep an eye on, like predicting this award, like moving forward. I think we'll start to see like certain trends, stuff to look out for.
yeah,
But that's definitely important. Like, it is going to be tough for like a Dame to like win it, just because of how good the Bucks are probably going to be, and like a Tatum the winner or whatever, like those kind of guys, Jamal Murray.
right.
Well,
That precedence
might be
is
tough.
huge. That precedence now being established is like when you're predicting an award, like I was saying with Coach of the Year, it's either that team who gets like 60 plus wins and is just amazing, or it's that team who goes from outside of the playoffs to being like above the play-in range, like a top 6 type seed. With like 6 man of the year, it's usually that guy who comes off the benches and is like a microwave scorer, like a Tyler Hero, Lou Will, like Jamal Crawford, these types of guys. There's like these precedents that are set. So when there is a new award like this, it's like, what kind of player archetype do I give this to besides just a guy who can score in big time moments? And that's a lot of guys, if we're being honest.
Exactly. Yeah. Like who would have predicted De'Aaron last year?
Nobody.
Nobody.
With an unreliable outside shot, like I would have been like absolutely not. Which I mean,
Yeah.
and now I'm predicting Shea, who doesn't have like a great outside shot either. Kind of similar, kind of not, because Shea definitely does not rely on speed. But as far as just getting to the hole and all that, but like,
I don't even think we predicted it last year.
Yeah, I don't remember predicting.
I don't think we did.
Was it a thing? Like, did they announce it before the season, or was it something that they like during the year?
I believe they did. Now, whether it was announced pre us making our predictions, I don't remember. But
interesting.
Even if it was, I'm not surprised that we didn't predict it.
Yeah, I don't know who I would have picked last year. Probably would have been like Kyrie or something. I don't know.
I probably would have said like Devin Booker, but I got to be honest.
Or like Dame. I don't know. I probably would just pick like a cliche answer. For real.
Yeah, it would have been hard to think outside the box on that one, given the lack of precedent. That's for sure. You just think, okay, good perimeter scorer who's historically been good at closing games. Yep. That's as deep as that would have went.
Big shot guy. It's funny. Y'all want to go to 6 men or MIP next?
Oh, let's save MIP. Okay. Let's go to 6 men.
Get us started, Dev.
I will get us started. At number 3, I have the inaugural winner, or not the inaugural winner, but the defending winner of this award. I have Malcolm Brogdon. Whether it's going to be in Portland for the entirety of the season or whether it's going to be elsewhere, he's probably going to be playing off the bench, and he's probably just going to continue to play as well as he did last year. The continued thing for him is just going to be, can he remain healthy? He was healthy enough last year that he should be able to remain relevant, because I believe it's just actually MVP and Depoy that need the 65 game requirement for some reason. I don't know why they're only giving it to those two, but those seem to be the two that they care about for the 65 game requirement. So I think Brogdon should remain in the mix. And even if he does stay in Portland, he should be able to produce more than fine here. He's going to have a lot of guards to work off of. He's going to get open looks. He's going to be able to get a lot of open looks for guys, with a lot of young guys cutting, decent shooters on that team, between Ayton and Robert Williams getting buckets in and around the rim. A lot of opportunity for him to get some good numbers. So I like Brogdon in the mix again. At number 2, I have Quickly above him this year. I think a little bit more health, a little bit better defense, or a bit more than a little bit better defense. But I expect another leap forward offensively from Quickly again this year. Whether the role expands that much, that's in question. But I think there is enough depth on this team that he should be enough of a bench guy to be not having the starting X amount of games and producing so much as a starter be held against him this year, because Quentin Grimes should be starting games. Josh Hart should be starting games. Dante DiVincenzo might even get some runs. So there might be a little bit less likelihood that Quickly does start 20, 25 games and get so much inflated numbers as a starter that it impedes him. So I think he'll be in the running again. My number 1 pick, call it a homer pick if you want, but Gary Trent Jr. is winning Sixth Man of the Year this year. Gary Trent looks like the sixth man because Dennis Schroeder is the starter. This man is playing for a bag this year in a contract year, and the Raptors need every bit of his shooting and perimeter offense on a team that has none of it. Gary Trent, Sixth Man of the Year.
Wow.
I don't hate it. I didn't expect it, but I don't hate it. He's going to put a lot of big scoring nights off of that bench for sure.
It's going to have to. There's going to be a lot of nights where he might be a bench player, but he will not be getting bench minutes because this team is going to need his spacing and his shooting, especially down the stretch of games. He will be closing games. I don't know who isn't going to be closing, but Gary Trent will be closing because the offense needs it.
Yeah, honestly, the more you talk about it, I'm like, okay, I can get behind that. I don't know how often like Sixth Man of the Year goes to a team that's not very good. I know like the past couple of years, like I think when Hero won it, the Heat were like a top seed. The Celtics were really good last year. I'm sure there's been some guys. Maybe I think Lou, one of the Clippers years, I think was the year they were like an 8 seed and faced the Warriors. But that was like a rare case of like he was damn near the best player on that team.
Yeah, you're probably not wrong. It's a good thing I'm not choosing for the media though, so we're okay.
Yeah. It might have been like 2018, I think, when Lou. I think they missed the playoffs that year though, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe.
Yeah. But even like outside of that case, I mean, a lot of the times, like even as far back as like Eric Gordon, like the Rockets were really good that year.
Bro, even farther back than that, like Harden.
I think with like Montrez, like
Jamal Crawford winning it.
Yeah. Oh, honorable mention I forgot for this because I don't know what the Pistons are doing with their rotations, but if Jaden Ivey continues to stay off the bench, Jaden Ivey has a shot. I don't know if he will. I hope he doesn't, but if he does, then he has an argument for this as well.
Yeah. I like your Brogdon take too. Just thinking about it, like whatever Portland's lineup ends up being, once again they won't be very good, so kind of like the Gary Trent thing, but whoever ends up coming off the bench, if it ends up being like even like Shaedon Sharpe or something like that, or like God forbid it's like Scoot Henderson. Imagine him as a rookie being like Sixth Man of the Year contender. But if one of those like up and coming guards ended up coming off the bench, like they could even put up some good numbers themselves alongside just Malcolm Brogdon on that team. So that's a really interesting situation to watch. But my third guy for this award, I don't think you said. I actually don't know if you said any of the guys I put. At 3, I had Norman Powell just because of how much of a consistent scoring wing he's been for the Clippers. And I think on a team that's kind of like up and down as they are with who's in and who's out, his consistency is really valuable. I think if he was able to be a sixth man full time, he'd probably be giving them close to like 18-ish points a game or something like that with some pretty well-rounded play. And I think that would put him in conversations. I just think he might end up starting too many games because we know even with the new rules, like those Clippers guys miss time. And so he's probably going to be in that starting 5 for a lot of games. My runner-up, I'm buying into some of the hype. I put Peyton Pritchard. We know the Celtics are a little bit more thin now, especially at the guard positions. And they just gave him that extension, so they expect him to be that backup point guard moving forward. So it's going to be really big for them. As the leader of that bench unit, he's going to have to step up big time and seems to be doing so far, looking pretty good in the preseason. So had to give him some shine there, and he'll have a lot of eyes on him as well from the media because the Celtics are going to be one of those top teams in the East. But I ended up giving the award to the other top team in the East. I decided to go with Bobby Portis. He's been one of those top bench guys for a couple years now. Hasn't quite got his hands on the award. But I look at this Bucks team going into this year, and they're quite thin. And so when I look at a team that's quite thin as they are, and look as a player who's been as important for them the past couple of years as Bobby Portis, he's really going to have to step up big time. And when they're running bench units, like he's going to be huge. I know there was like some graphics that were like the starting lineup of Drew Holiday, Chris Middleton, and like Bobby Portis at the 3. No, he's not starting at the 3. But he will probably get the 5th most minutes on the team. So at that point, like he's going to have the opportunity. He's going to get a lot of touches. He's been in this organization for quite some time, and I think this will be the year that he finally gets his hands on it.
Very interesting. We all have different winners for this award. That's fun. That's fun. Bobby did get the 3rd slot. Jels, my guy, man. I'm doing pretty good. Bobby did get my 3rd slot. Like you mentioned, Gabe, he's going to put up he was putting up a double-double off the bench last year, which is like really solid. If he didn't get hurt for that, he missed like a certain amount of games, like kind of later in the season. And I think that kind of killed his like chance of winning the award. If he would have stayed healthy, he had a real chance of bringing home the award last season. So nothing's going to change for him. He's still going to get his shots off of that bench. He's still going to rebound the hell out of the ball like he's been doing. My two, I also had Emmanuel quickly on my list. I feel like whether he gets like a lot of games starting and he plays better in those, I think he'll be a little more comfortable off the bench this year, just because I think the Knicks, this is their second season with this core group of guys. I think he'll really be able to buy into that role, be that guy off the bench. He's also trying to, get paid and stuff. So, I could see him just having a very big year off of that bench. And I'm surprised this guy wasn't on either one of y'all's lists. I had Malik Monk as my winner.
Okay.
Got Malik Monk winning it, man. I could just see him. He was like their second best offensive player in the playoffs last season. And he's somebody very J.R. Smith-like can have those really explosive, crazy nights offensively. And he improved as like a playmaker last season. I just like what he brings off of that bench. And he has the ultimate green light, and that's what I want to see in a 6 Man of the Year candidate. So I think he can have a very big year. I'm going to go with Malik Monk for my 6 Man of the Year.
I like Monk. I definitely saw him on some of like the betting odds list toward the top. So I can't hate on it. And he had a lot of really good moments, especially if he capitalizes on that momentum he had in the playoffs. Like he was one of those guys who was torching the Warriors in some of those games that Sacramento ended up taking.
Yeah, facts.
Definitely a fan of that pick. I think there's a lot of guys this year that could put their name in the hat for 6 Man of the Year. There's a lot of good scoring guards off the benches right now, and Bobby Portis being the exception to that very much should throw his name in the hat as well. So we'll see how that one goes.
I could definitely see like Gabe, you said Payton Pritchard. I could see him being in the running, but I could also see there being a world where like his numbers just aren't up to par with like the Malik Monks, the Quickleys, the Brogdons, the Portises. Because like I think I tweeted like it was either today or yesterday. I'm like, if Pritchard gives me like a solid 12 points off the bench, I'm happy. I'm satisfied with that. Like a decently efficient 12 points, few assists off the bench, I can live with that. Just because like the guard rotation is already so good. You got Tatum, you got Brown still, Porzingis is in there. Like how many shots is there really gonna be for Payton Pritchard like in that second unit? Because he's gonna be playing with a JB or a JT almost at all times.
Yeah, I just kind of like for a lot of mine, I thought about like how important will you be to the team, and it's like that's kind of like why like my top two picks were like these teams aren't very deep, and so it's like yeah, he might not step up that much, but I know he will step up to a good degree. Then especially with Bobby, like the fact that the Bucks lost some of their depth in the Dame trade, and now they're getting to where they are now, where it's like he's been their 6 man for a couple of years, but like now there's even more pressure on him. I think you could see a bit of a statistical jump there. So it's like thought I'd give him the nod, but there is so many guys like you guys are mentioning with like Emmanuel quickly. I'm just still torn on like he did so much better as a starter. It just makes me weird. And then like guys like Brogdon, it's like, well, they have like 4 really good backcourt players there. So it's like he might be splitting touches with if one of those other guys comes off the bench. So there's just like there's a lot of variables with all these guys.
Norman Powell is interesting too. Like I thought about him, but like you said, you just don't know like if he's going to be off the bench all
you don't
the
know who's
time.
starting. You don't know who's starting. Even with like a Malik Monk, like I love the pick, but then it's like a lot of people are predicting regression for Sacramento. So then it's like if they get worse, will he be able to get the award? We don't know.
Yeah, that brings the question back up. Like, how much does winning matter with 6 Man of the Year?
I do low key feel like it's more than we think. Just thinking of like who usually wins it.
Probably.
It's a tough, like you just go back through the years. Like I think Lou Will's the only guy I can think of that might have missed the playoffs and won the award in like the last 15 years or so. It's tough.
It is tough, especially when there's a lot of competition. If you got a guy who's on similar numbers and has made the playoffs or has done better than you on his team, it's tough to get in. And that can go across multiple awards. I mean, not that was the only reason, but I mean, we were talking about it when Scottie Barnes won Rookie of the Year. It was like the Raptors have a better record, and that's not typically something that gets associated with Rookie of the Years because the best rookies usually are on bad teams, but sometimes that's just the deciding factor.
Bro,
If you lead your team, or like at least are one of the main reasons why your team is good as a rookie, it's so rare that then it does become that conversation of like, ooh, that's nice.
I got asked today at work, like, do I think LeBron or do I think Melo should have won Rookie of the Year over LeBron? And I'm like, that was one of my points. I'm like, well, they did make the playoffs in Denver, and Melo was like one of the reasons why. So that's just like a rare case. Like maybe that should factor in just a little bit. But Sixth Man of the Year, this might be like your team might have to at least be like a playoff level team. Like even if it's like a play-in type, you might still have to be that good.
I mean, usually having a guy that good off the bench is like can be one of the main reasons why a team is so good throughout the regular season, because those like your Sixth Man of the Year, if they're keeping you in the game or like erasing deficits while your starters are out, then the starting lineup comes back in and they're not in a hole. It's like who has the best bench play can decide a lot of games, because in the playoffs, your starting guys are probably getting close to 40 minutes. But there might be some nights in the regular season where they're not, like they're getting around like 30 and the bench guys have to do a lot more. So if you have a guy who can really step up off the bench and really like provide that extra boost, I mean, it can be huge.
Yeah, most definitely. But while we were mentioning it, let's go on to Rookie of the Year in a situation where, once again, winning could matter, with Chet and Wembanyama being two of the headliners. But there is a lot of guys that could be in the running for Rookie of the Year this year in what is a very stacked rookie class. Even helped more so by the fact that Chet missed what would have been his normal rookie season last year. So get us started, Gabe. Who do you have as your top three for Rookie of the Year?
Man, I don't know how I forgot him, but I'm going to make a surprise switch now that you mentioned him. My number three, I'm actually throw Chet's name in here. I think he will finish a little bit lower, even though I do think he'll be that good. Damn near as good as the number one guy, but I just don't know if the statistical production will be there because they have a lot of mouths to feed there in OKC. And even though he should be like the leader of their defense and probably the most important player on there, I won't specifically say the best defender because Lou Dort's really good, but as far as his skill set being valuable to the overall team defense, he's going to be huge. But I just like the scoring numbers and stuff and like these raw box score stats that people usually look at when voting for awards. I don't think he's going to be able to put up as much of those numbers next to Shea, next to Giddey, next to J-Dub, next to Dort, next to all these different guys who are going to take touches. Then at number two, I'm actually going to go with Brandon Miller. It was like, do I include him or do I include Scoot? And with the new controversy surrounding Miles Bridges, I do feel like Miller will get a bit more of an opportunity to showcase his talents. And I also think that the Hornets are going to be a bit worse than the Portland Trailblazers will be, which means there'll be more room for him to just straight develop, which like with Portland, they might give the ball a little bit more to guys like Ayton, to guys like Brogdon, to guys like Simons who have been around a little bit longer. Whereas like outside of LaMelo and maybe Terry Rozier, Brandon Miller's probably going to get a lot of touches, especially at the forward position for the Charlotte Hornets. And then at number one, like this is boring, but Victor Wembanyama, he's looked that good in preseason already. I think he's going to have the most opportunity by far. He's pretty much the only rookie coming in that gets to be a number one option day one. And it's like, we know it's Victor's team. It's running through him. And so it's really his award to lose.
So no Scoot on your list, Brandon Miller?
That's what I think Scoot – listen, so I think that Scoot will be better and he'll look better than Brandon Miller. But I think that Brandon Miller is going to have more production because Scoot's playing next to Shaedon Sharpe, next to Anthony Simons, next to Malcolm Brogdon. There's a lot of guards who are going to be sharing the ball, whereas Brandon Miller, if Miles Bridges is out again because he just went back to jail, like we don't know what his status is. So
he was also back at the facility.
I still don't check, bro. Bro.
There's all signs pointing towards he's going to be playing. That's the only thing. Like
he might be playing, but this man cannot avoid controversy.
He can, but
still, like
man, you got LaMelo. You still got LaMelo. You still got Terry Rozier's taking shots too. Like I feel like it's going to be tough for Brandon Miller to like put up numbers.
It's a different position group though. And LaMelo is a big playmaker, big passer. Like Rozier, I'll give you. But LaMelo, a big part of his game is passing and playmaking. as far as Scoot, like he's sharing the ball with other guards, people at the same position group, people that like
other
Anthony
guards
Simons.
who have also had experience playing next to a high volume point guard in Dame. Ant Simon's like he has no issue sharing touches or sharing the ball with other guards. So, and the ball's going to be in Scoot's hands a lot. Like Ant Simons knows how to play off the ball. So it's not just scoring production from Scoot. The playmaking aspect and his gravity that way is going to be off the charts. Like he's going to get these guys. He's going to get Ayton, Rob Will, those guys, Sharp and Simons. These guys are going to get so many free looks just off of Scoot. Like his production, like scoring wise, might not be like 20 points per game like it might have been if he was like on a really badly constructed team, but it's still going to be like probably like 16, like probably like 6-7 assists. Like it's going to be still like very insane for a rookie point guard, like the numbers he's going to be able to put up.
I think he's that good. Like I said, I think he'll be a better player than Brandon Miller. I trust the fact that in the depth chart, like he's going to be a top 2 forward on that team and will probably be getting like the majority of that minute share. Whereas Scoot does have to share. I do get what you mean though about like the play styles and all that, but it's also like, especially as Shaedon Sharp is still developing. Malcolm, like we don't know what his status is going to be, but as far as like people who are getting him the ball in the easiest spots, like Brandon Miller has somebody getting him the ball in LaMelo, who is a top playmaker, whereas like Scoot is really doing it for himself, which I think he'll do very effectively. But like Brandon Miller has his own game mixed with somebody else creating for him, whereas I don't know if Scoot will see that as much. But Scoot's probably going to be on both your guys' top 3, and I respect it. I do think he's that good.
I like the curveball. I do. It's just I don't know. And plus, like Scoot's not going to need people like creating for him because he's going to be the engine. Like it's just like like LaMelo doesn't need people creating for him because he's the engine.
All I'll say is don't doubt Steve Clifford's ability to restrict a rookie's role.
Yes, that too, man. Gordon Hayward's still on that team. He's probably not going to play like 60 games, but he's still on that team.
Gordon Hayward and PJ Washington could eat up a lot of minutes and a lot of shots. Whether they should is a whole other argument, but Steve Clifford could very well be the guy to do that.
That's the only thing.
5, bro. Just knowing the Charlotte Hornets, they're going to be like, Nick Richards, you're out of the rotation. PJ, you're the 5. Like, that's just Charlotte in a nutshell.
I can't believe you forgot Chet. Like, I feel like all offseason has been like, oh, Chet might win that rookie of the year.
I think I forgot it because I was like, when I was thinking about like the rookies, it somehow just randomly slipped my mind that he's like,
that's fair.
Oh yeah, he's in the running because he's not like a real rookie.
Also, the NBA is like the only sport that like does this, like where guys that just missed their rookie year because of injury can just come back in and it's your rookie year now.
I feel like it's the only sport where big time players miss their whole rookie year.
But I'm trying to think.
Like, why does that happen?
We already saw the Patriots corner go out for the year, and he was looking really good. Not to say he would have won Rookie of the Year, but like, it's definitely not just the NBA.
I feel like it's happened in the NFL, like kind of recently, like with a quarterback, and like it was just his year 2, and it was like, year 2, like no Rookie of the Year, man, just year 2. I forget who.
I mean, that's like Deshaun Watson and Joe Burrow.
But like Mahomes, Mahomes didn't play like his first.
He played one game, I think.
I guess.
But like per NBA rules, that wouldn't qualify you. So
really, that wouldn't qualify.
I don't think that would have counted as a rookie season. I think the year after he would have still been a rookie. I don't know what the number of games is, but I don't think like playing a game or two would deem you as a rookie season.
I will say redshirting people in the pros is kind of hilarious to think about.
Personally, like I think it's kind of smart for some guys. Like I liked it for Chet because this gave him a chance to like 1, get healthy, and 2, just kind of like grow more into his body because he was like a 19, 20-year-old kid. Like grow a little more into his body. So like when it is like his rookie year, he's like healthy, he's a little stronger. He can kind of deal with like the bumps and bruises of being an NBA big. So in some cases I like it. Other cases it's like I don't know, but
I think
it's a smart play.
It might almost make more sense for big men than guards. I think a lot of the time for guards, it's like you just need that NBA experience. You need to go out there and make your mistakes as a playmaker, get a bunch of stupid turnovers, make your rookie mistakes, get used to the pace of the game as a ball handler. Whereas with the big men, it is like the defense, having the body, being able to bang down in the post, like being able to be that force in the paint to drive away people who are driving. Like,
Yeah.
those, like, I think it does make more sense for that to just get a little bit older, get a little bit bulkier, stuff like that. Whereas, like, doing it for a guard would probably be less helpful.
Yeah, you don't really see guards do it often. Like that's definitely facts. But
I mean, you can't adjust to the pace of NBA ball without playing NBA ball. So, like, say,
be.
like, if Scoot Henderson didn't play this year, like, and he's still just going to come in with, like, his G League experience, like, you still haven't got used to the NBA pace of ball. And as a ball handler, that's so important.
Only guy that probably did it was like Ben Simmons, and he didn't really miss a beat like his rookie year.
He's a weird case though, just because like he like is a guard, and yeah, he did adjust really well because he was like a point forward, so he had the ball in his hands a lot. But he is that weird thing where he's such a big player that his game is a little bit more unique.
Interesting topic, man. I had Scoot as my 3 for the reasons I just argued with Gabe about. Chet was my second guy on my list, and of course Wemby. Look, I don't buy preseason stock that often, but man, the dudes looked insane. Chet's looked really good too. Scoots look really good, but bro, Wemby, bro looks insane, bro. I think it's gonna be a closer race than what people might be thinking, man. Because Chet's gonna impact winning, as we all expect OKC to be really good. I think his defensive impact. Gabe said he might be the best defender. I think he's gonna be the best defender on that team from day one, just because of that rim protecting potential. Like,
agreed.
He's going to be really, really good, and I think his offensive game might catch people by surprise too, because he can, stretch it. Him sitting in the corner on like Shea, get into the bucket, get into the bucket. Like he's going to be able to like shoot a high percentage on a lot of like easy looks, and he also has a little bit of offensive bag himself. So I think it's going to be a closer race than what people think, and I wouldn't be surprised if like maybe Chet gains like a lot of momentum just because they will probably be winning and their jump is going to be like directly correlated to him being healthy and being on the court.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Scoot 3, Chet 2, Victor 1. And like you said, like I think Chet's going to make this a lot closer than a lot of people think. I mean, Wembanyama's a freak. There's no doubt about it. What he can do on a basketball court, we probably have not and very likely will never see someone with his type of frame and skill set again. But Chet's a bit of a freak in his own right. I mean, he's standing out there next to Victor in the preseason and like doesn't really look like he's giving up much height, doesn't really look like he's giving up much length. Great defender, offensive bag, can still shoot from the perimeter a bit, can still create his own shot a bit. Like he's got the whole package. And like, again, it's just preseason and it's only a 3-game sample size, but 21 minutes per game in the preseason, averaging over 18 points a game, 5 boards, 1.7 blocks, and shooting 62% from the field and 55% from 3. No, like that's probably not going to get reproduced, and it is the preseason, but it is also only in 21 minutes. Like he's a very special talent. The fact that there's 2 bigs that are this talented, and you still have Scoot and you still have Brandon Miller, like there's so much talent in this class. There's going to be a lot of competition and a lot of fun for the Rookie of the Year battle this year.
I'm happy I put on for Brandon Miller, bro. Now I'm the only one that gave him some love.
Mills called him an oddball. I didn't expect to see Brandon Miller's name. I'm gonna be honest.
I didn't either, but I'm not super against it. But we know how I feel about Brandon Miller compared to Scoot Henderson. So,
Scoot is definitely the better player. I was more so just factoring in that like the Portland just having a gazillion guards that are like good.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's definitely fair. I think I just have enough trust that like Scoot's going to be the on-ball guy, and like Ant's going to be the 2. Sharp looks like he's competing for the starting 3 job. Now he'll probably still get some on-ball duties, but I'd imagine his role is much more similar to what it was pre-sitting Dame and Ant's injury at the end of last year, where he's just primarily an off-ball guy. Brogdon is like a piece, but I doubt they're prioritizing Brogdon being an on-ball guy. So I just have enough confidence that Scoot's going to be the guy, and I don't have enough confidence in the fact that Steve Clifford is Steve Clifford.
Yes.
And what are we going to get from him, and what type of role is he going to give Brandon Miller? Or is it just going to be LaMelo do your thing, Rozier do your thing, and then the wings is just kind of a 3-man rotation of Hayward, Miller, and PJ, and no one really gets prioritized? It's possible that Miller ends up being that guy, but I think there's still question marks there too.
my DeAndre intake, like I just want him to go to the 4 so bad. Have those twin towers out there. Like I'm praying on that, which is why I'm like, yeah, Grant the 3 and then have 2 of those guards off the bench. Let's get it done.
If we think he was getting spoon fed with Chris Paul, like the amount of easy shots he's gonna get at the rim just by rolling, like with 75% aggression, Scoot's gonna get like I think he might average like 8 assists a game as a rookie. Like I think he's
definitely could. He definitely
nice,
could. And
man.
like either if Thibault continues to shoot the 3 well, or they have sharp lineups with Scoot and Grant and a big, like that spacing is going to be crazy. I mean, Grant's not thought of as a great 3-point shooter. He shot 40% from 3 last year. Like teams got to respect that to an extent. Like the spacing on that team is going to be crazy.
And then like Sharp's like low key like a lob threat himself, like just because of like his cutting ability and his hops.
Tons of vertical spacing on that team.
And knows how to play off the ball, down screens, pin downs, like he does all that. Like this, that's gonna be a fun offense, man. That's gonna be a fun offense.
League pass team.
Definitely.
I don't know if I'll be staying up that late to watch them every night, but I'll tune in.
Guys like me are night owls, bro. I will be there no matter what.
Yeah, I will be there until the clocks change, and then I'm an hour later every night, and then we'll see.
Yeah, Mills don't be feeling your takes, Gabe, at all, man.
Just a generational hater.
I think he's still hung up on. I think he's still hung up on like.
Into the podcast, bro. How much can space the floor, bro? Come on, stop,
bro.
It's crazy. He wanted to play the 4 anyways. Coming into the
played the 4 in college, bro, which was like,
bro, he was the number 1 pick.
Yeah, I do hope they experiment with some lineups like that. I think they will at some point. I don't expect that to be their starting lineup at all this year, but I do expect they might have some 3, 4, 5 minute stints where they do run that when they bring Rob in off the bench and then Ayton stays in, because like Ayton's been shooting like 20-ish threes a year. If they can get that up to like 50, 60, I'm with it.
Ayton for 3.
I mean, he's already shooting the middies and stuff. He might as well.
That's the thing. He's already such a good mid-range shooter.
Bro,
like it just makes more sense for him to expand that volume a little bit.
I need it.
If he can become like when Marc Gasol first started shooting threes, like maybe take like 1 or 2 a game or something like that. Like, okay, I could buy into that.
Dude, I need it for the nasty Ayton agendas, bro.
I still don't know how good he's gonna be.
I wanted to put DeAndre Ayton on the most improved players list, but his previous stats were just too good.
Bro, I was thinking about that for a couple guys. But like I looked at like Nikhil's stats, right? I'm like, damn,
no way you were looking at Nikhil again, bro.
Bro, this is how flustered I was with most improved player. Like I was just looking up a bunch of guys that I was scrolling down the odds list, and I'm like, could he do it? Could he do it? I'm like, I don't know, but like, there's some guys like they had like a big year 2, and then they just fell off, and they were mid, very mid, very mid. Like, is that even most improved, or is that just like getting back to what you were? Like, I don't know. It's weird.
Garrett coming in with a big Trae Young depoy pick.
Most improved LeBron.
Trae Young.
The doubters wrong. The best pick on there is probably Luka Garza, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah. G League legend Luka Garza. That's funny. If Trae Young won a depoy, I would get a tattoo like Trae Young Defensive Player of the Year on my bicep.
Trae Young can get you a game.
Trae Young can get you a stop.
Imagine Trae Young getting you a game with like a chase down block in the final minute of a playing game.
Oh, Iguodala blocked by Trae.
Gosh, that's like Harden getting that block in Game 7 on Luke Dort. Like, that's similar vibes.
Manu Ginobili block on Harden in Game 6.
Jesus.
Man, but I think it's time on the topic of MIP. I think it's time to have the conversation. I'll let you get us started, Reek. If you have honorable mentions, feel free, because I know at least personally I did not get this list down to 3.
I didn't really have an honorable mention. I was hopeful that maybe Moody or Kuminga could make a big jump, but I'm not that hopeful. So I'm just get to start it, man. This was straight off of vibes. Like, keep that in mind. My 3, we kind of talked about him a little bit last week when we were doing our Western Conference predictions. Jaden McDaniels, if he takes a nice offensive leap, I could see him potentially being in the running for this award. I think he averaged around like 12 points per game last year. If he jumps up to like 16, maybe 17, he could be in the running. My second, this is solely because I've seen him starting in the preseason, and I know he's going to get a lot of easy looks playing with a high-level point guard, and an offense is going to be flying up and down the court. Obi Toppin, he averaged like 7 points per game last year. If he doubles that production to like 15 a game, maybe 6-7 rebounds, I could see him being in the running for this award. And my top guy, this seems so anti-Tyrik agendas. I went with Austin Reeves.
Okay.
Austin Reeves was my winner. Yeah. Averaged like 13 a game last season, but that second half of the season stretch where he was really good, he was like their basically go-to guy on the perimeter. I can see that translating into this season. And if he jumps up like 18, 19 points per game, Lakers being as good as they are in the spotlight, I could see him having a really good chance of winning that award, man. I couldn't go with Mikal. I couldn't go with the Jordan Poole picks. That's just – it's not in my genes. The Cade Cunningham picks, I can't do that. So I went with these guys.
I feel like Reeves might almost suffer from like some of the same stuff that Mikal does because while like his total regular season stats might not have been as good, only averaging 13 points per game, like what he did later in this season, and then especially what he did in the postseason, like people might already look at him as like, yeah, your stats don't show it, but you were already that level of guy before.
It could, but bro, Mikal was averaging like 25 a game.
Yeah,
like
he went
30 game stretch or something like that's
it's
why like
to a
his
lesser
hype.
extent.
Yeah, that's why like his hype. Like I'll be more behind like a Cam Johnson leap, but even like he would have to jump like a decent amount too. I was trying to look for a guy that I thought could like be the next Lauri Markkanen, be the next Julius Randle, like a guy that was like an okay player that just jumped in all-stardom. I didn't really see it. I didn't really see it too much. Like there's like the Jordan Pooles that could like jump drastically, but he was already a 20-point per game guy. Same thing like Mikal was 25 after the trade deadline last year. Like it's a tougher one to pick. I'm interested to see who y'all have because I guarantee y'all probably didn't have any of the same 3 guys that I have.
I didn't have any of them. Who was your 2 and 3? Oh, I know 3 was
Obi Toppin.
Obi Toppin. Yeah, no, that was the oddball pick, bro. That's the like.
Bro,
Obi Toppin, just because they got like Bruce Brown and they brought in Jarris Walker, like they got a lot.
If he keeps starting.
That's the thing. I think he's going to keep starting. I don't want him to be the starter, but I think they are going to keep starting him. And if they do, I think he's got a shot.
And Obi Toppin in elevated minutes has been a really good, productive NBA player. And he hasn't played with somebody like Tyrese Halliburton who can really just get him that pill. And this is a up and down space and pace offense too. I could just see that production like getting like up there for him. And he was somebody that averaged like 7 a game last year. If he doubles that to like 15, that's a case. It's a case for sure.
Yeah. Garrett kind of echoing similar sentiments with that Markkanen and Randall idea. It's typically that first All-Star season.
Was the last one to not make it Pascal, or was it the year after?
Who won in?
It's been one more recent than that. I just don't remember off the top of my head.
So it was Lowry.
Who won it in the bubble?
John Morant doesn't count to me. I don't count John Morant.
Lowry, Ja.
Who did it?
Okay.
Who won the award in 2020?
In 2020, that was BI.
Okay.
It was Ingram? Why do I not remember him winning that award? I cannot picture like
Kobe.
Yeah, that was BI.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah, I don't know. Trey Murphy getting hurt before the season started kind of killed like.
Oh, he was my guy.
Yeah, I was probably gonna pick him, but
missing
a month or two, like that's gonna be tough.
All right, I have a completely different 3, and my number 1 was kind of like I hate it, but like I think I might end up defaulting to it. I don't like hate it because I think it's a bad pick. Like I think he has a really good shot. I just like don't want it because I don't think it's as much of a player improvement, more so just an opportunity improvement, if that makes sense. So let me start off with at my number 3, I have Desmond Bain. Funny that Garrett just put that in chat as I said it. So I think a lot of his case is just going to be he's going to come out of the gate starting the season really strong because Ja's out. He's going to be the number 1 option on that team. He started last year really strong, got injured, production tapered off a little bit once he came back. But him truly being their number 1 guy on offense for a team who has traditionally still been good without Ja Morant on the floor, him being able to do that means that he'll, in essence, be the number 1 option on a good team. With that said, that's only going to last for the first quarter of the season or so. And then Ja will come back and he'll go back to number 2, and you'll probably see that production taper off again. So I think he might start off at like 25 to 26 points per game, might end up being an all-star, so he could follow that like first all-star season type thing. But I think you could see him fall back down to closer to like 21 points per game towards the end of the season. And so his season total might be like 23 or something, which probably is not enough of a jump for the award, but I think he will get a lot of the early narratives and fall off later. My runner-up was Cam Johnson, mostly because who the hell is getting offense on Brooklyn? It's like a bunch of great defensive guys, but then you have like Ben as a playmaker, Dinwiddie is like a solid guard, and then obviously McHale is your main guy. But they're really struggling for offensive production, and he could really step up and be a big guy for them in that regard. So I think the opportunity will be there. And I also think he's that motive player who, like, you don't traditionally see him as like a shot creator type guy, more of a play finisher. But that's what we said with Lowry as well. Like, he could catch the ball on the outside, make this shot. Obviously, as a bigger guy, he could do stuff on the inside as well, and he could score the ball a bit. But it was that shot creation ability where we were really like, wow. Like, and Cam Johnson could be that similar type guy where, like, you don't really traditionally see him as that kind of person. But, like, with a bit of a sample size of it last year and now a full offseason, knowing that he'll probably be their second option on offense, I'm going to go with Cam Johnson. My number 1, though, had to go with Jordan Poole. Full green light. Just had 41 points tonight in the preseason as we're live. He obviously is going to get a lot of shots on this Wizards team. They're not going to be great, but he's probably going to jump up to like 26 points per game and will probably have a pretty high assist total. Don't know how efficient it'll be, but just with how much he'll have the ball in his hand as their lead guard, I assume that number will be pretty high as well, even playing next to Tyus Jones. All things considered, I think he's going to win this award off of just raw counting stats alone. Like I said, to kind of preface it, I don't think he'll actually get that much better. I think it's just a case of so much opportunity that you'll just see the numbers jump. And it'll be like, oh, he went up 6 points per game and like 4 assists and some shit like that. Like, he'll just end up getting it off that. But the pick I actually like, who I'm like, oh, that sneaky guy who could make a really good jump, my 2 and 3, I almost like I would prefer them to win the award, even though I picked Poole as number 1.
Yeah, that's fair. I definitely see the argument for Poole because, yeah, like you say, like the volume's going to be there. He's one of my honorable mentions for a reason. But I like the Cam Johnson pick. But yeah, like you said, like you hit it on the nail. It's one of those things where Laurie is just broke out last year and became more of a shot creator, but is just such a good off-ball player. Cam Johnson is really good off-ball. We'll see if he can make that next leap because like we've seen now with Markkanen last year, you can be like an elite tier off-ball guy who's like a good on-ball guy, but I wouldn't even say Lauri Markkanen's anywhere near a great or elite on-ball player. He's just good, but as an off-ball guy, he's just that impactful and that productive that he can be an all-star caliber guy. Cam Johnson will have the opportunity, especially if Ben Simmons is healthy. He'll have that level of playmaking around him, but we'll see if he's the guy who kind of takes that leap.
Real quick, I did think of a guy that I did give some consideration to. Josh Giddey. I just don't know if his numbers are going to improve that much, but he steadily got better last season. I could see another jump for him in year 3. I don't love pulling like year 3 guys, like year 2 to year 3 guys, but he's somebody that has caught us by surprise before. I could see him doing it again. So Josh Giddey, shout out to him.
Yeah, I don't think year 3 is terrible. I like compared to like year 2 guys, it's like
it's
like I want to go out. I want to go out and I want to say like, oh yeah, Shaden Sharp, he's gonna go up like 10 points per game and average 17. But then I'm like, yeah, year 2 guy, like, no, I don't care if he jumps 10 points per game. I'm not putting him in this list.
Like, but you have to have like a Devontae Graham type of like year 1, you're not playing, you're averaging like 3 a game, and then you jump up to like 20.
Yeah, like
iteration.
Ja, I feel like he got that award because there was another strong contender. But like this year, I do think there'll be a couple strong contenders for it. It just ends up being who actually makes the jump out of all these different guys we're throwing into the pool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely could see that. For sure.
Like the Cam Johnson shout. Did you give your 3, Devin?
No, I still got to give mine. Okay, honorable mention to another third-year guy who's at the top of that class, Franz Wagner, gets in here for me. Similar to a few guys we've mentioned, I think it'll be tough for him to just get his numbers up really where they need to be. I mean, he has to be probably not even a borderline all-star. He probably has to be a defined all-star to be able to win this award, and that might be tough to do as the second option in Orlando in a team that, even though they are led by Paolo and Franz, still does have a lot of complementary guys that are going to get a lot of looks between Cole Anthony, between Markelle, between Wendell. There's a lot of guys who are going to score on this team. So outside of Paolo, I think it'll be tough to make that type of jump. So honorable mention for Franz, but I don't think he quite gets into that range. My number 3, Taylor Horton-Tucker. Looks through the preseason so far that he is going to be starting on this team, which was my hope. I wasn't expecting it. But my hope was that he was going to be the starting point guard heading into this year. And so far, it looks like that might be the case if you want to consider the Sexton and the 2, which seems to be a safe assumption at this point in time in his career. So I think THC is going to be the main playmaking guy for them, and his playmaking looked great to end last year. Still has great burst and strength to be able to get downhill and be able to get buckets at the rim. With that level of burst and the fact that he has been passing and playmaking as well as he has, I think there's an argument that he could really take that jump. It's not going to be an all-star jump, but we're talking about a guy who at his best has averaged about 10 points per game. So if he can get to like 16-6, 16-7, which is a significant leap in any playmaking he's ever done before in his career, I think he's got an argument there. My second guy, another guy who looks like he's going to have his first chance at the point guard spot this year because it looks like Tre Jones is not starting, and this is Devin Vassell. They've gone from a team that was starting Keldon Johnson at the 4 not too long ago, and it now looks like Keldon Johnson's going to be at the 2. This is a very different look in how big this lineup's going to be in San Antonio, and I think Vassell is very much going to benefit from the fact that he's now going to have the ball in his hands a lot more, and he's playing next to Wembanyama. His assist numbers and his overall productivity on the ball, his overall playmaking should just leap significantly. He's going to have Victor to get the ball to. He's going to have Keldon Johnson to get the ball to on open threes. And even though last year he struggled a lot more, he was the number 1 guy last year. He was trying to be a shot creator, and that's just not Keldon Johnson's game. But he's going to get to sit back in the perimeter again this year, be more of a spot-up guy, get a lot of playmaking in that way. We know what Wembanyama is going to do around the rim and how many open looks that's going to create with that vertical spacing. So not just to mention the fact that Vassell is going to continue to likely increase his own shot creation ability, the fact he's solid on the defensive end. I think there's a lot of avenues for Vassell to improve in, given the fact he's also in a new opportunity and a new role and a bit more of a point guard role. I don't expect him to be the traditional point guard, so to speak, and I do expect Tre Jones to still play a lot of that role off the bench, but it seems like they're trusting him in that with that this year, and I think that gives him a good chance of winning the award. But my number 1 pick probably will have the least fancy or good-looking numbers on paper out of these 3, but he's got a lot of room to grow and he's got a lot more opportunity coming his way this year. Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson is my most improved player, and he's already looked good out of the gate. He looked good to end last year. He's looked good in the preseason, and Atlanta have entrusted him this year. They got rid of John Collins, finally. They finally moved off of him, and I think it's time that Jalen Johnson finally takes the leap. He's got the physical tools. His three-point shot has continued to improve. His defense has looked good. His rebounding has looked good. There's a lot of tools to like here, and there might be a little bit of growing pains in the early season. But even with DeAndre Hunter in the mix, Jalen Johnson could make himself and assert himself as the best forward/wing on this team. And again, might not be the best-looking numbers, but if this guy starts averaging 13, 14 points a game, that leap is already so astronomical from where he's coming from. Whether that hinders him because people are a little bit concerned about the fact he hasn't had a ton of time in the league, maybe. But he's year 3 at this point. This isn't a year 1 to 2 jump. This is a year 2 to 3 jump. And we've seen a little bit of a gradual introduction of him into this team, especially since Quinn Snyder's been in town, as he got a little bit more introduction into the team last year. So he doesn't have to put up anywhere near all-star numbers, and I think he can still be in contention. So a lot of concerns with the Hawks, but I think Jalen Johnson could be a guy that really jumps for them this year.
That is hot. That is
I loved his minutes last year when he did get some type of run. Him and AJ Griffin, I love both of them on the court, but that's a hot that is a hot one. I like it though. Because that's
very, very non-traditional.
This might be the year where we see like it's not going to be an all-star guy that gets it. It might just be somebody that makes like that gradual improvement.
Because the last couple ones that weren't all-stars was like Pascal, who was literally the second option on a championship team, and then like CJ, who was a second option on a good team in a very stacked West. So like it definitely would be a very different case away from like you said, like a jump to like 13, 14 points per game. Like I definitely think a very different circumstance to what we've seen. But with what the pool is looking like this year, really, really ain't a bad pick.
If it's any consolation to you, Kong, I had Gary Trent as 6th man of the year. So I was still giving some Raptors love tonight.
I did think about like a Scotty Barnes shout. I would be more comfortable if the full keys were in his hands, but they're not. So
if he was the starting point guard,
he would have been my pick. I promise he would have been my pick, but nah, I can't.
So we got FIBA GOAT Dennis Schroeder,
the best in the world, Dennis Schroeder. I'm surprised nobody said Maxey. I thought somebody would have said.
No, because like he's just already so good, like. And I know I gave it to Poole, but it's like Poole, him coming out and being a number 1 option is like I feel like just everybody knows, like, and I don't know if like the statistical jump will be there as much. If it's anywhere, it'll be in the playmaking, I think.
Yeah,
but like,
that's why that's why I try not to include any of those like the guys that we already know are fucking good, like the guys that we already know. Like Devin Vassell is a good one because it's like I feel like people still don't know how good he is, and somebody that's gradually improved each year. I like the Cam Johnson pick a lot because he's somebody that was good last season, but like you said, who's scoring the ball in Brooklyn outside of Mikal? Nobody. He's probably their next best officer, so he could easily jump up to like 21 points per game.
Whereas Maxey probably has to get like 26 and 6.
Right. Yeah. I don't know if he's really good, but I don't know if he's a 26 per game type guy because like even with the increased role and like he could replicate it, but like the fact that his 3-point percentage jumped so much last year is like if he ended up regressing a little bit and was like a 36-37% 3-point shooter, like that's taking a bit of points off the board, but still probably an overall net improvement just because sheer force of opportunity. But like good God, he was shooting lights out last year.
Yeah, and my thing about Bane, Garrett mentioned it earlier. Like once Ja comes back, those numbers are obviously going to take a dip. I mean, I just like he will have to like really. You guys say like 25, 26. I feel like it might have to be a little bit more than that for him to like by the end of the season still kind of be in that running. Because once again, a guy that averaged 20 points per game last season or around that, it's going to be tough for him to like really jump and be in that award like leading the race, I think, unless he just comes out the gates as like 27, 28 a game and he doesn't drop off that much once Morant gets back. I don't know. It's a weird. That's why I kind of like the Jalen Johnson pick because he's somebody that went from a low-end rotational player to maybe averaging 12, 13 a game this year on a team that might make the playoffs. Like, I don't hate that.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping it's one of those guys this year. I'm all for the really good player to all-star jump, but I think this is the type of year where we could see a lot of guys go from like good role player to kind of in the rotation to really solidifying themselves as high-end starters or really valuable rotation pieces. I think that could be the type of year for that. Now, maybe we see a Jordan Poole leap. Maybe it's a Tyrese Maxey. Maybe it's a Desmond Bane, and that's more prototypical. But I think there's a lot of guys that have that argument where they're a little bit less prototypical, but could still take a really big leap. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
And I feel like even like those all-star leaps that we've seen, none of them were except for John Morant, which is why I don't think he should have won the award. None of them were obvious. Like nobody's. I guarantee you, ask Knicks fans going into that year, nobody thought Julius Randle was going to be an All-Star, All-NBA player. Last year, we weren't talking about Larry Markkinen being the return. We were thinking about Colin Sexton in that trade.
Yeah,
like it's so rare. Like it's just that blatantly obvious for a most improved guy. So it's interesting.
We will see. But if anyone's going to do it, Desmond Bane's definitely a good shout. I think Garrett's barking up a pretty good tree there. But we'll move to the two we got left. I'll leave MVP for last, and we will move ourselves to Defensive Player of the Year. I'll let you get us started, Reek. Who do you got for Depoy this season? I know you've been trying to give AD some love. We'll see if you give him some love there.
Yeah, Depoy's always kind of tough for me, man. My three, I had Lopez / Giannis. I'm gonna just go with Brook Lopez again, man. I'm gonna go with Brook Lopez. I'm gonna give him the love. I wanted to give Nick Claxton a shout, but I don't know how good we don't think the Nets are gonna be like a playoff level team, like consensusly. So it's just tough for me.
Be that good, though.
Defense is gonna be really good, but like I feel like Depoy is another award where like winning probably matters too. Like I just don't think. I think that's why Nick Claxton fell off like towards the end of last season as well. But if the team was better or if they are better, he's going to be in the running. So I'm gonna go with Brook Lopez. Jaren Jackson's he's playing basketball games. He's on the court. Okay, yeah, I got Jaren Jackson as my second guy. That's why I think Memphis will be fine without John Morant to begin the season because Jaren's going to be there, and Jaren there makes this team a top 10 level defense. Really, no matter who he's been playing with, like they're just that good when he's on the court. And I did go with Anthony Davis. I'm buying it, man. I'm buying it. Anthony Davis is my Defensive Player of the Year, man. I'm running it back.
He's got faith in playing 65.
I pray to the basketball gods he hits that minimum, man. I pray because if he does, this team is going to be so good defensively, just how they were last year. I think they even improved in certain areas, like adding a Torian Prince was a good addition. I'm gonna go with Anthony Davis, man. Just please play 65, man. So this does not look like a terrible take.
He's Brook Lopez, not Brock Lesnar. I'm dead.
Brock Lesnar.
That's hilarious. Bro, I ain't even gonna lie to you, bro. And for as much of a fan of him as I am, I had Jaren as like in my honorable mention, like number 4, just because I think
obviously you said they were a 10 seed this year, dude.
Yeah, all right. Clearly. Yeah, I know, but listen,
no,
I feel like the narratives will just be against him after like the playoffs last year. Like, bro, AD was the best defensive player in that series by far. And for a guy who's supposed to be a Defensive Player of the Year, like I know, like and honestly, maybe not because like Rudy Gobert kind of had the same thing happen, but I don't think it was like as apparent with Rudy Gobert until like the Terrence Mann shit happened in 2021. So, like, I don't know. I think the agendas are going to go against Jaren now. My third though was also Brook Lopez. I thought that he was going to have just a lot like more of what he did last year, and they're probably going to rely on him even more to start the season, just because you're implementing a new coach, which means you're implementing new schemes, which means that defensive talent is going to be super important while everybody's still kind of figuring out how this is going to work out. We know he's going to show up to play and play at a high level on the defensive end. Then my runner-up was Anthony Davis. I think a lot of it just goes out to like, we know how good he is on defense, but I think now it'll be more like appreciated because the Lakers overall have kind of gotten back to having a stronger defensive core and having a stronger defensive identity, closer to what they had when they were that title team. And so him being able to lead that unit to probably a really good defense overall is going to put him back in those conversations very strongly. But we know with AD, there is always that, will he be in the game or will he be missing games? And so I can't put trust in him at number 1 for that reason. But my number 1, I went with Evan Mobley. They were a top defense last year. They definitely do not have a good defensive backcourt. In fact, it's probably one of the worst defensive backcourts in the league. But with this front court and that duo of him and Jared Allen, they were able to have one of the top defenses in basketball last season. Going on from that, I think with another year of development and Evan Mobley coming more into his own, I think he will begin to become more of the apparent reason for that and less so Jared Allen. So I think he'll get a lot more of that shine. He'll get that love. He'll get that appreciation. And I think that if the Cavs end up staying as good of a defense as they were last year, which I don't see why they wouldn't because they didn't really lose anybody important, I think it'll be his time, and I think he'll get that award.
Okay.
I don't hate that. I don't hate that. Not the direction I'm going, but I definitely don't mind the Mobley shout. I think there's definitely an argument for that, but different order. But I got the same guys as Reek for my top three. Brook Lopez is my number 3 again. I've switched tunes like crazy on Brook Lopez over the last 24 months. I was on the let Bobby Portis start bandwagon, and I was pushing for him to be an all-star last year. I think he still has another good year. How many more years we get that are very productive out of Brook Lopez, we'll see. He's not getting any younger, but I think we still have another really good year out of Brook Lopez and should anchor another really good Bucks defense. AD is my number 2. Again, like you said, Gabe, availability is a concern. If I know he's going to play 65 games, I might have him as my number 1. But I'm going to put him here at number 2 because I'm not sure if he's going to get to 65, and even if he does, it might be borderline. As compared to Jaren, he's my number 1. Availability since he's come back from that shoulder injury last year has been great. And this is going to be a team where if they are good next year, which I expect they will be, we're talking about a Bane MIP. We're talking about Bane having better offensive numbers. Jaren and his defense and keeping this team a top 5 defense while Jaw is out and while Jaw is in the lineup is going to be one of, if not the biggest reasons for that. And especially if they have a good start to the year, Jaren's going to have to be that guy, whether it's on the defensive end, like we know he will, and whether it's that offensive production continues to improve if he gets upwards of 20, 21 points a game. A lot of it's going to fall on Jaren, and I think that's going to be a big argument for him. Now, he could win or lose this award in those first 25 games because of that. If they start out 10-15, the defense isn't great, it might be toast for him. It might be AD, it might be Lopez, it might be Mobley, maybe Bam gets in the mix, maybe Claxton gets in the mix if the Nets are having a good year, but those first 25 games are going to be crucial for Jaren. If the Grizzlies are playing well and Jaren is really anchoring this defense, I think he could really put a good case for himself forward in those first 25.
Okay. I like it. My thing about Anthony Davis, I feel like the back half of the season, after the deadline, when the offensive load wasn't as heavy on him, it seemed like he was more available. I could be wrong, but it seemed like he was out there a lot more that second half stretch of the season. So I'm hoping with like all the reinforcements that are in LA now, like maybe he can just really like just focus more on the defensive side of the floor and be more of like a 23 point per game guy instead of like them asking him to be 25, 26 like he was last season. So I'm just hoping like maybe a lesser of an offensive load will help him be healthy, be available, and just hopefully hit that 65 game minimum. It's dumb that they're doing it for 2 awards and not every award or no.
It's very weird. But yeah, he did only miss 2 games from the beginning of February on.
He only has he always has a chance, but yeah, I think now is as good a year as ever, just especially with them getting back to, like I said, that just stronger defensive core as a whole. Like he gets to lead an actual good unit. And while sometimes the carry job like last year, the carry job can look good, but we see in other years like Marcus Smart the year before, like being able to be the leader of just an overall good defensive core can also net you that award. So I think
I was wondering, like,
he kind of has both.
I was thinking of like a Marcus Smart. Like, is there ever going to be a year where like we have a guard in like our top 3, like just consensusly going into the season? I don't know if we ever will.
It just has to be like a special type performance. I feel like you have to be doing something like insane. I mean,
it's so rare.
Like Drew Holiday's been a top perimeter defender, top guard defender in the league for how many years, and he's never been.
I think the only guy who really could get in a conversation is if Ben Simmons bounces back, but then it's like guard, right? So
right,
as a prototypical guard, it is very, very difficult to get in such conversations.
I'll even take a wing player. Like I kind of group them together a little bit because this is a still big dominated award. Like Kawhi had won his, I think Kawhi won 2, right?
Yeah, back to back.
Kawhi won a couple. 16. Draymond's not like a big, but he won his. But outside of that, and Smart won his. But like, outside of that, it's been Rudy, Jaren's.
I mean, a lot of why Draymond got that though is because he was able to slide in as that small ball 5.
True, but not to traditional.
Not traditional, but being able to
shot blocking dude.
Being able to be that versatile while being able to play the big position is was huge.
For sure. Yeah. Interesting. I still wish that Ben Simmons won that deep boy a couple years ago.
No Mobley love though. Can't believe it, man. Can't believe it. Heartbreaking.
Not saying he slipped my mind, but
where did he finish last year in the voting?
Was he top? I think he might have been top 3.
Third, I think.
So yeah, for him to be third last year, extra year of development,
second, but I think he was third.
The Cavs being that good,
he gets the respect. He definitely gets the respect for sure.
For sure. No, the voters were really liking him last year. There was a point in time where it looked like he might even win the award in the initial stage of what was made public. But he definitely gets love.
Did they finish with the number 1 defense last year? I always forget who it was between them, the Bucks, and Memphis. But
yeah, they were just barely number 1. I think it was only by 0.1 defensive rating, but they were number 1 and top 3 net rating or something like that. They were up there statistically. They were supposed to be better than their record showed.
I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the fact I just feel like Jared Allen cancels him out a little bit, not fully, but just a little bit.
True. Canceling out is a word you hear a lot when we get to MVP. But
right, yeah.
That's what I was going. I'm pushing Jared Allen washed agendas just because I want that Mobley full-time 5 shit to happen ASAP.
I don't think he's ready. I don't think he's ready for it, man.
I don't think he is either. But I don't know. At some point, I'm just throw that motherfucker into the fire, bro.
They would get crunched in the playoff series with Mobley as the full-time 5.
They already got crunched in the playoff series with him as the full-time 4. So it's
it'll be so bad.
Shit would have been done in 4,
bro.
Imagine
living out here averaging 20 and 10.
Like you say, it was bad, but it was already bad. So it's how can we get worse?
I don't like that logic. I don't like that logic. You're basically accepting defeat at that point.
I'm saying that we try a different approach. Bro.
That was what the Mavericks did last year at the deadline. It's our defense is bad, so let's just accept that our defense is bad, and then we got worse.
We can't rebound. Let's go ahead and throw Mobley at the 5. Let's do it. Could you imagine him in a playoff series against Bam for a full?
Gotta throw him in the fire.
Come on, bro. Lopez.
No, bro.
Yeah, the Celtics front court, the Bucks front court,
even Miles Turner.
Even the Knicks.
What is Jared Allen doing against them?
Even the Knicks.
Not shit, bro. Jared Allen was not doing a goddamn thing.
Hell, even Capella and Okongwu were bullying that man on the boards.
Bro,
you know those demoralizing offensive rebounds late in games. You're gonna see so many of those if Mobley's the full-time 5 in a playoff series.
We're happening with Jared Allen as the full-time 5.
Donovan Mitchell just cut the lead to 1, hit a 3. They need a big stop. Oh, the shot goes up, it's missed. Oh, it's tapped out by Horford. The Celtics I can just see that happening. No.
Randall's gonna get to shoot a ton of bricks because he's gonna get 4 threes of possession.
Yes. It's gonna be so nasty. And this is already a team that is defensively challenged in their backcourt. So it's just I can't. That's why you gotta run with the 2 bigs until you find something that would be better. But there's nothing better for them right now.
Yeah, it'd be different if they had a big, good rebounding 4. But they have Niang and that's it. I mean, if Dean Wade could play better, then maybe, but they just don't have that. I mean, it's Max Strus.
Them boys needed Josh Hart.
Karis LeVert. Coro's not there. Not that he's a great option, but they're limited.
They need a Reggie Evans on their team, man. Just somebody just to come in, grab 10 rebounds a game, and that's it. That's it. Just grab.
Maybe I'm trying to sabotage Cleveland, bro, because everybody knows I'm not a Cavs hater, but just a city of Cleveland hater. Just that. Ugh. Gross.
Some nasty agenda pushing, that is for sure. But it might be time to get to our MVP predictions for next year.
Oh, there's 6 different guys that could be in this combo.
It is an interesting debate this year. It could go a lot of ways, I think. It could go a lot of ways.
Yeah, the guy who had his number 1 2 weeks ago is not even on my top 3 anymore.
The guy I had number 1 is probably still top 3 for me, I would say.
Yeah, I think my 3 has been my 3, but I could definitely understand a bit of variation. So it'll be interesting to see which way we go with this.
I guess I'll have another crazy hot take here. Some
My list
oddball,
looks
wild
weird.
pick.
My list looks a little weird. I can't lie.
No
Maybe
list
it's
looks
because
weird until you're right at the end of the season, and then it looks good.
that's true. Maybe it's because I had like a completely different 3 like a month ago.
Well, when some of the best teams in the league get involved in some big trades, that'll shake that up.
Bro, what's up with the Reggie Evans like hate, bro? Like that was a rebounding monster. 2K legend Reggie Evans at that.
Literally don't
Garrett's
even know.
just a hater of random players.
Bro,
I have Yusuf Nurkic. He has Jeff Teague and Reggie Evans. It's just that's how it goes.
I got the white pal. Gabe, you need to find somebody, man. I don't know who
It was Marcus Smart for that shit in the bubble, but he's not even on the Celtics anymore.
I don't know if that's random though. That's like a legitimate beef.
Yeah,
that's legit.
Not like that's some shit that happened to the Raptors. That'd be like my dislike for Jeremy Lamb. Whereas Nurkic just never did anything to the Raptors other than he's just been on Portland. Dude's
I was a
dude's just minding his own business, and I'm just hating on him. Like
my Luka hate was. I feel like that wasn't even random though, because I was like, "But he's not better than Curry. We got to stop having this discussion."
No, that is valid. That
so
is.
Anyways, I got Curry at number 1 for MVP. Thanks for.
We all know that's
guys.
not true.
Do you for real?
Yeah.
No, he doesn't. No, he does not. There's no way he just started with his number 1 and then stayed.
Yeah, that's crazy. You know what? I'll get this started.
Okay. You have Curry at number 1.
My number 3 guy was arguably my number 1 guy a few weeks ago. The homer pick, Jason Tatum. Yes, I'm with JT. I still think he's going to be like close to 30 a game. I could see an all-defensive caliber season from him. Steadily improving on that side of the ball. I think he's better as a playmaker. And just, a little more stability around him outside of Jaylen Brown. I like the potential that he can just really lock in this season. But the addition of like a Porzingis, Drew Holiday, I think might hinder him just a little bit of cancellation. So that's why he's 3. Look, we had them as the 1 seed in the West. I think the media's not going to be as fatigued. I can see Nikola Jokic being in that discussion, man. I got him as the number 2. And I think I mentioned it on the pod. I don't know if it was pre-show or during the show last week. I said I wouldn't be surprised if Steph Curry put up really big numbers and had an MVP caliber season.
I like it.
I got Steph Curry. I got Steph Curry winning his 3rd MVP, man.
Great
I got
take.
Steph winning his 3rd MVP. I had them as a top 4 seed. I wouldn't be surprised if they were better. And the stage is set for him to just score, shoot the hell out of the ball. A little less point guard duties is going to be on his plate, man. Steph's going to have a big season as long as he can not have that stretch where he misses like 15 games. As long as that doesn't happen, I'm banking on that not happening. I got Steph Curry winning MVP.
I could cry. This bottle of wine. This goes out to this goes out to you, my friend. This drink is for
man. Steph.
Wow.
I love the ability of him to be able to play with Chris Paul.
Oh my god!
Because we haven't seen Steph like be able to play consistently off the ball in quite some time.
Reek finally joined the team this offseason, bro. He finally joined the team. Yeah, he had Curry over Luka on the point guard ranking. Has Steph as the MVP, dude.
I won't say I'm joining the team, man. I just got faith in. I got faith in Steph though. I just got faith in him.
He joined the team of Curry truthers.
See if anybody joins the club, man, or did y'all?
I didn't even have Curry in my top 3, bro. I feel like he's just like past that stage of his career. I don't know, which is weird because like he got that like 2nd place finish in 2021 when the Warriors were kind of bad, but like I don't know, like I feel like he's just not going to be one of those guys that people think about, kind of in terms of like LeBron in the later seasons where he was still like one of the best players in the league or the best player in the league, but they were just like, nah, no. Not LeBron.
Steph had a last year he was like close to 30.
He was unanimous.
I
He
didn't
was
realize-
unanimous. Or no, 20. What? One of the years was that this year? Was that actually this season?
What?
No. Well, my timelines are. I think it was the season before. No, I think it was the season before it. He was like literally like the unanimous guy until like December. It was when he broke the shooting record, and then he like had that slump.
That's the year they won the championship. Yeah,
That year, yeah.
Because it was like him and KD, and then it was like Steph, and then he had that he was shooting like 30%.
They were like Steph is the guy. Then he had that slump. So I mean, he still gets his name in those talks sometimes. My my honorable mention is Giannis because he was going to be my number one because I'm like he's going to show them motherfuckers that he's the best player in the league. He just lost the title. He's going to have his revenge tour. He's going to be that guy. But then they traded for a top 10 player, and I think it's going to be a lesser version of like the Steph and KD syndrome where they were on the same team and they were both like super high level players and kind of canceled each other out. And my third is kind of a victim of that same thing. I had Devin Booker here. I thought he was primed for an MVP level season. We know about 25 games or so into last year, he was my MVP pick because I thought he was doing a lot of carrying on that Sun squad before he got injured last year. He came back, and then they traded for KD, and it kind of killed his narrative along with missing time to injury. But I still do think he's that good. We know KD and Bradley Beal are players who are known for missing time. The roster is not very deep this year. It's a pretty thin lineup. So with that, I do think there's going to be a lot of nights where Devin Booker will single-handedly get them a lot of wins. And I just think he is that good. So I think that mixed with the Suns being as good of a team as I think they'll be, I think I had them as high as like 2. I think that'll put him in contention. My number 2, same thing as you, Reek. I also have Jokic here at 2. I think we know the Nuggets are just that good of a team, so he'll have that going for him. We know he's a statistical monster. They'll have that going for him. I just don't think he's going to get another one yet. I think we've seen for the past couple guys like Curry, Giannis, Jokic, they usually get like 2, and then, all right, let's move on to the next guy. I think there's a couple one-time guys in there like Russ, Harden. I think Embiid will end up going down like that. But Jokic will obviously keep his name in that conversation. But I did actually end up going with your homer pick, and I took Jason Tatum. So, like I was saying with some of these other guys, like Giannis got hurt by the Dame trade. Devin Booker, while the trade was like a little bit earlier, really got hurt by the KD trade, and the Beal trade obviously factors into that as well. And then I also think that Jrue Holiday is going to accept a little bit more of a role. I don't think he's going to be like the 21 points per game he was last year. So I think those guys, while being very effective and very good to a Celtics team that I expect to win a lot of games, I don't think they're taking as much of those like statistical abilities away from Jason Tatum. Also, I think that the Celtics, they're just going to be so good of a team, probably winning like – if there was a team to win 60-plus games, it's them or Milwaukee. And I think you'll really see Jason Tatum be the guy who steps up in that. We know he averaged 30 last year. He can probably do that again. And you were mentioning earlier just the roundedness of his game, improving as a playmaker. We know he can do it on the defensive end. Really just – I think out of everybody, he can just put forward the most complete season. And out of all these contenders who added big-time players through trades or whatever means, I think he's the one who those trades probably hurt him the least.
Don't hate it. I think it's a very good point with like Porzingis coming in. Even if he is still averaging like over 20, it's different than like a Bradley Beal or a KD coming into your team, right? Because it's a different variance of shots that Porzingis is going to get, especially if like the preseason is any indication. It's going to be a lot of pick and pop, a lot of lobs at the rim, stuff like that. So it's definitely like not ISO, give this guy the ball. Like it's a little bit of a different variance of it's like a Klay Thompson type of 20 points per game, where he doesn't need a lot of like opportunities on the ball. It's a lot of just catch and shoot and stuff like that. So it's a very good point.
Yeah, I think Tatum should definitely still have a shot, and his availability has always been a big thing too. That should definitely keep him in the running. He's fallen just out for me. He's my honorable mention outside of my top 3, but I think he's got a shot, like you're mentioning too, Garrett. Like, he doesn't have one. Jokic is probably in the mix. Jokic has one. If Giannis is in the mix, Giannis has got a couple. If Steph is in the mix, obviously it's a while ago, but Steph has got MVP. So he could have that edge from a bit of a voter fatigue standpoint as well, or just voters wanting to give someone new the award. And Boston do have that type of potential to have that winning of a season. So definitely an argument there, but he falls just outside my top 3. My third pick, bit off the board. Don't care. I'm buying into OKC. Give me Shea at number 3. The offensive production is there, 30-point per game score, and he's quietly starting to regain a bit of his defensive form that we saw earlier in his career with the Clippers, and is just continuing to improve on that. If he becomes a really elite two-way player this year and not just the offensive star that we know, and OKC are a top 4 seed, he's going to be in the conversation. How he was like borderline top 5 in MVP voting last year. I don't know if I agreed with that last year, but that was when they weren't even in the playoffs. So if they're a top 4 seed, give me Shea as in the top 3 in MVP voting. I don't think this is the year where he would potentially win it. I don't know if there's ever a year he'll potentially win it, but I think this is the year he's really, truly in the conversation thanks to some defensive improvements, team defensive improvements, and in turn then OKC actually being in the postseason. My number 2, I'm not quite there with you, Reek, but I think Steph does have a really good year. I think the Warriors do have a really good year. Steph is my number 2. It just seems like the type of year where the Warriors are going to bounce back. Wiggins is back. The defense, the road record won't be as good, or should be much better, I should say. It seems like the last year where Steph and this Warriors team might really make that push to just be that elite tier team. And I think Steph should be in with a really good shot for that this year. Like you said, as long as he just doesn't miss that chunk of games, I think he's in with a really good shout. But screw voter fatigue, man. Jokic is still just that guy in the regular season compared to, you can argue Giannis is the best guy in the league. Giannis has now got Dame next to him. Giannis is a guy who's a little bit more likely to miss a little bit of time. Jokic is available. Jokic is just continually, night in, night out, continuing to produce, even if he doesn't really show that scoring production that he sometimes does in the postseason compared to the regular season. He just elevates his team so much on a nightly basis. And we're going to have to see that again this year, especially to start off, is how do we get Julian Strawther involved? How do we get Peyton Watson involved? How do we get all these bench guys involved that are now going to have to play important roles for our team? Because outside of their top 6, we don't really know where it's going yet. I mean, Strawther's looked good in the preseason. They've had some other young guys look good in the preseason, but the regular season is going to be a different beast. And when they start playing some competitive teams and teams that they're going to want to win against, even in the regular season, that's still going to be another animal. And Jokic is going to be the guy that is probably making those guys comfortable and is making them look a lot better than they might do otherwise. So I'm still liking Jokic here. I think his defense has only continued to improve. We just know what he does on the offensive end, man. Scoring, playmaking, rebounding, you name it. Such an elite talent. I'm not buying into the voter fatigue. He's got a year off of the award, and I think he's going to be right back in with it again.
The thing about the voters fatigue, I think after winning a championship, when you have a couple MVPs, it kind of eliminates it, because a couple years ago, I think Giannis finished like second, and there was a real debate towards the end of the season. Was it him? Was it Jokic? Was it Embiid? So I think him just coming off the championship might kill that fatigue a little bit. So I feel like he's back in like I don't think he was ever really in the bad graces of the media, but it's like, oh, he's a proven winner, so now we can stack his MVPs, like something like that. Like after Braun won too, like they were comfortable giving him MVPs again. So, I don't think the fatigue fits in that
they gave
much.
Braun the third before he won a title.
True, but I feel like Braun was also killing that narrative, like because he were so good that year and stuff like that. But
maybe that was like the lockout year. They were very good, but like he won his third MVP this season right after the Mavericks collapse. So like he came off of his worst like anti-winning losing player, and he
that year in between when it's like
three
you just won 60+ games 2 years in a row, but you didn't win a championship. They were just like Braun had an amazing 2011 season, but they're just like we don't.
Well, he was never going to get a year one in Miami. Like after what he did to jump ship and all that, like
they just didn't care.
No way. And I think they started
after Giannis won his first 2. They got that was the year before
that was the first
year by Miami. Yeah, and there was like after he won a championship, they were more comfortable giving him that praise, even though he didn't win it because Jokic won it. But He was definitely, yeah, of course he didn't deserve 2011, bro. Anybody that says Derrick Rose didn't deserve MVP that year, you're either 15 years old, a LeBron stan, or you just don't know ball. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah, the only MVP where I
too
like
many people like that.
the only MVP where I'm like, I don't know if he deserved that is usually like Russ. I'm still like, I still take Harden's case that year. But most of those I still like, I'm like, I don't think it was like highway robbery. Like Nash's, you can argue other guys. Personally, like in like 06, I would put even Wade or LeBron.
I will
Kobe.
I will argue Steph's first MVP. Like, I will argue that to the grave. I don't know if he should have won that.
Steph's first one. So who? Harden?
Yes, I would have won with Harden. That was my pick that year. Because Steph's numbers wise, counting stats were worse than the year before when he was like a first time All Star. Yes, the team won a lot more games, but you got to think James Harden was playing with like Josh Smith as his second best guy, and was the 2 seed in a stacked Western Conference where I think 55 wins got you the 7 seed that year or something like that, or the 6 seed. Like, it was insane.
Yeah, there's a couple. I think like the late 2010s, like people go back and forth between like LeBron and Harden forever.
No,
because LeBron played all 82 games, like absolutely carried a dog water team.
That's the only year that they will use totals instead of number, like points per game. Game number. Like come on, bro.
Yeah, like I still think that was Harden's award. Both of Giannis's, I think, were deserved. I still like. I don't like. I think Jokic's second one I would have given to Embiid, but arguably the same thing this year. Like I don't remember who I picked. I think I picked Giannis 22.
Yeah, come on, man.
That's what I'm saying is I no, but I think I might have had Jokic below both of them, low key.
I think Jokic earned both of his.
It was a close race.
Yeah, the second year was definitely the first year. He kind of was just like. He survived when everybody else kind of got chopped down by injuries, which is definitely commendable, right? But yeah, that second one's definitely, I think, a lot closer because Embiid was so good, Giannis was so good, but
yeah, I can't really be mad. Like any of those 3 guys could have got it that year, and I would have been like, yeah, okay. Like it was so tight. It was one of those ones where anyone could have picked any of those 3 guys and could have made an argument to me, and I've been just like. Okay, you have a valid argument.
Yeah, I do like Embiid's 2022 season a little bit more because he was dominant as hell, night in, night out, man. Didn't miss a lot of time.
And like, people's argument, like the flawed argument, was like, "Oh, Embiid's a 3 seed and Jokic is a 6 seed" when there was like a 1 game difference or like something like that. But still, overall, like Embiid was so good. I don't think he got Harden until like late in the year. Like he was doing most of that just on his own back. Like it
was like him and Maxey and Tobias.
And I mean, Jokic played most of the season off his own back as well. But like, Embiid.
If they didn't trade for Harden, that probably is a no doubt Embiid award. But
sure,
not that I don't know if it should have impacted things as much as it did, but. Once Harden came in, it definitely shifted the voting mindset.
I feel like we all had Embiid last year preseason, I think, right?
I think so.
Yeah. This is probably the first year in a while that nobody put Luka just because the Mavericks are not going to be that good.
It's just, Luka's going to put up his numbers and everything, but they would have to really surprise some people and like be like a top 4 team, I think, for him to get a real shot for that award.
I dipped a little bit extra and I guess anti-bias with this one because like out of all of us, didn't have Steph. The only one to not have Steph.
Yeah.
I had Chet the lowest, I think. I was the only one who didn't have Jared in my top 3. Like across the board, it was like all of my players who I should be biased for and like I always show bias for. Just didn't have him there. Did not have him there.
Surprised you had Tatum as your one.
I was full on Giannis, bro. That's why I was like, dude, I'm not even like that confident in like the MVP stuff, just because like I was so set on Giannis, but like that Dame trade just shook up everything.
Which award pick do y'all hate the most from your list? Mine's easily MIP. Like I'm disgusted by my list, man. I don't like it, but
Yeah, I don't like my pick from an accuracy standpoint. I like my pick from who I got winning it, but I have no idea. I have no idea.
If Jalen Johnson, if he you might want to take that to those sports books if like because I know his value
has odds.
His odds is probably if he's on there, it's insane.
Yeah, who does Vegas has?
No odds.
Vegas has Jokic as the favorite. They have Luka 2.
Really?
Luka 2 is crazy.
I don't get the Luka.
They have Giannis 3. Yeah, like the Mavs are not going to be good enough for Luka to get it. I don't understand that at all. They have Tatum at 4, but Steph's at 6 below those 4, and then Embiid as well at 5. So
I'm surprised Steph isn't getting more like buzz for real.
Yeah, I know. Like, you guys' case makes a lot of sense, but yeah, I don't get that Luka so high, and I just feel like Jokic, like he's the favorite, but I don't know. Like, I just don't know if this is going to be that year. But he's always going to be in that discussion just because he's such a statistical monster. And
I could see it. I could see him winning a third one, man. I could see him winning that third one. Of course, I would love Tatum, but I could really see Steph winning it, man. Like, as long as he doesn't miss the requirement, I could really see him winning it.
I think my least favorite pick might be Bobby Portis as 6th man of the year, but like I do think the Bucks are thin, bro. The Bucks are thin.
We're sure.
Literally, I think every single pick I said, the response was, "I don't hate that." No high, I love it takes, man.
It's a weird.
Yeah, I love it take.
Like, well, I feel like my picks going into the season last year, I felt fairly good about them. But this year, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get anything right except for Wemby.
Yeah, Wemby feels like the most confident one, but yeah, outside of that, I really don't know. Like 6th man of the year, I usually feel somewhat confident about, but I don't even feel confident about that this year.
I don't even know who I had last year. Year before was obviously Tyrik.
Mobley's gonna get that fucking award, bro.
Let me see if I still got Mobley somewhere, man. Because, God,
Mobley is taking that bitch home. I'll stand on that.
Christian Brown for 6th man of the year is interesting.
It's not terrible.
I don't hate it. It has potential if winning really gets valued, or if everyone else just doesn't win.
I wanted to put Payne Watson for most improved. Thought about it.
I would love nothing more than to put Cam Thomas as my most improved player.
Dude, most Cam Thomas.
Bro, how do you score that many points and not get in the rotation? I don't get it. You have to have
like once every 10 games.
Because he gets in the rotation like once every 10 games, bro. That man has
and then he gets minutes in the preseason, and he just
time.
is inefficient as can be. Like, what was he tonight? 4-13 or something?
Listen,
3 or 14.
Listen.
Like, come on now.
You gotta trust the process, bro.
Okay.
Cam Thomas.
Picks from last
year. You have to have talent to score that much. That's all I'm gonna say.
The picks from last year were bad. We all had. I'm pretty sure we all had Paolo. So we all had 2 picks right for sure. My depoy was fucking Rudy Gobert. That's terrible. MIP was Halliburton. I don't hate that, but I did not have Lowry anywhere near the top of my list, like anywhere on my list at all. 6th man of the year was Jordan Poole. He started, I think, too many games. Had Brogdon at 3. Did you, Gabe? Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you pick Christian Wood last year?
For what? For which award?
6th man of the year. Didn't you pick Christian Wood?
Hold on.
No, he had Russ.
I'm pulling it up right now. No,
he did have Russ.
I didn't have Christian Wood on this list at all. No, I just put up mine for last year. My MVP.
Okay.
I probably had Woods on my list, but
I had Embiid winning it. Giannis is the runner-up, and then Luka at 3. So I was right in the winner. Defensive player of the year, I had Ben Simmons bounce back year. LOL.
He was my third. He was
Bro, I had Time Lord at 2,
Oh my God.
which I still think was a good take, even if it was not correct. Then I had Bam at 3 because he was always in there. Rookie of the year, Paolo, Keegan Murray, and Jabari, which I don't think was terrible at all because Keegan Murray did have a good ass season. I think that was a great shout for me.
Yeah.
Coach of the year, I had fucking Tyronn Lue. However, my 2 and 3, hear me out. My 2 and 3 was JB Bickerstaff, and the Cavs were a good regular season team, #1 defense. And I had Michael Malone at 3, and then
Mike Brown. Mike Brown was in my honorable mentions, man. I'll take that.
6-man. Oh, 6-man, I was kind of cooking. I had Jordan Poole at 1, which he didn't end up getting it. But then my number 2 was Russ, and my number 3 was Brogdon.
Mine went JP, Christian Wood, and then Brogdon. So.
Yo. My MIP, Tyrese Maxey, Keldon Johnson, Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's put in the work, bro. Come on.
He was my third, too. He was my third.
And then I put – for some reason, I put scoring champ on there last year, and I put Giannis. I put Giannis, KD, and Trey.
Giannis
yeah,
was in that
okay. I had Gobert as my D-boy, too. I was hoping it didn't.
We're gross, man.
And you guys still had a better fucking pick than me.
Yeah, I had Laurie at 3 for MIP.
That was my hot.
You had him at 3.
Tyronn
That's a great shout. You must have bought in after like his FIBA run.
I did, yeah. I did. Yeah, I had him at 3. I had Keldon Johnson at 2, which was also tough. And I had Brogdon at 3 for 6-man like he gave. But I had Poole at 1, and I had Hero at 2, assuming he was off the bench, which he wasn't. But
I think Gabe had Norm Powell. Oh, you talking about last year? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I had Norm Powell at 3 this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, at the time it's players who are good enough to start. Yeah, no, Brogdon was off. Yeah. Them. Actually, I don't know, because some people might have still said Derek White was going to be the guy off the bench. But, I don't know. Brogdon's game fit better to be the bench.
Probably could have saw both of them come off the bench for real.
Derek White has been getting a lot of love, which is pretty cool to see. Ever since he got snubbed off that ESPN list, motherfuckers are going to bat for Derek White, bro. Celtics Nation stood up.
It was more than Celtics Nation. You got D'Lo saying he don't get enough
JJ
love.
Redick.
It's facts though. Impact's winning more than a few guys that were put on the list above him. So it's cool. He'll have another good year. Jason Kidd for coach of the year. He might not have a job after this season, to say that much. So, yeah. It's okay. I had Chris Finch, man, and he was an 8 seed, so it's all good.
Yeah, I had Finch number 2. I had Bickerstaff number 1. I can live with that, but
I had Finch, Joe Mazzulla, and Willie Green.
Yeah, I had Bickerstaff.
I was
Finch,
close to
putting. So.
I almost put Mazzulla on the list this year. I'm the
thought about it
too. Be insane, but I'm I don't think you'll get the credit for it if they're that good. Versus
adjustments, timeouts.
I do think that's why I put as the new coaches on top teams. I was let me put Adrian Griffin in that spot just because they're integrating such a big piece, and people were so critical of Bud. Where it's I feel like people are gonna look for what the coaching change does. Like I said, bro, if they start using Giannis as the fucking roll man, finally, shit will be crazy.
Well, and especially people seem to think well of Nurse. I mean, I'm not high on him right now compared to a lot of people across the league or the media, but that seems to be a well-respected thing right now, and even the coaching tree seems to be respected enough, even though he has had a couple of flameouts, but there's still been a couple of guys who at least have been decent coaches outside of Toronto, so we'll see. Maybe that's enough to give him a bit of a nod over the head.
Who's some of the flame out guys?
Nate Bjorkgren is the biggest notable guy.
I forgot about him, bro.
Yeah, that was such a quick stint. It's easy to forget about it. But
did he even make it through the entire season?
I think he did, but I could be wrong. It definitely wasn't a day past the season. But
Yeah, no, they I think he definitely made it through the whole season because then they went to Rick Carlisle, and I don't think he left the Mavs till the end of the year. I don't think they had an interim guy.
Yeah, because I remember he had like a big blow up on the bench. Was he with Goga?
I don't remember who it was with, but I know there was some report that came out saying he had like fully lost the locker room and it's just a bit of a mess.
They said that about a lot of coaches, bro. I feel like that definitely had to come out about like Nate McMillan.
Yeah, but he didn't blow up on the bench. Nate McMillan's too chill for that. Isn't Chris Finch is he's from Nick Nurse's tree, right?
Yeah, he is.
Okay. An elite head coach, according to Jelson, by the way.
I wouldn't say elite. He's middle of the pack to me, I would say.
Yeah, he's fine, but he's definitely not elite.
Not bad though, but yeah. Yeah, Nick Nurse, he's an interesting one to watch this year. I'll say that. Philly.
I'm so low on Philly. Like, there's just when you predicting stuff like this, like there's just certain teams that I'm low on and certain teams I'm high on, and it's like it's gonna affect giving the nods to like a lot.
It sounds crazy, but their playoff ceiling is definitely lower this year. Like, even without the Harden stuff, man, I don't know. Maybe it is a Nick Nurse thing, but
I'm not moved. I feel like their depth is worse this year too. Like, Bolton's gone, Daniels is gone. They're gonna have to rely on Daniel House a lot more, who I liked going into last year when they signed him, but he wasn't great last year. Yang's gone now too. They gotta get some production somewhere. I mean, Pat Bev's gonna be a guy they're relying on a lot, which defensively is fine. Offensively, at this point in time, his career is a bit of a problem in the postseason, especially. But we'll see. Like, they're gonna rely on a lot of Daniel House minutes. And I don't know if that's your key wing off the bench. It's okay, but it's not great.
I'm surprised Dave Yeager has not got a job since then.
Yeah.
He would fit great. And, like, I don't know, bro. I feel like he would fit well with a team like Charlotte. Is that a weird shout?
You know the first team that came to mind? It was Dallas. I don't know why. That was the first team that came to mind.
He's going to be better than kids doing so.
I don't know. Yeah, like
toughest 7-4-3 stat line. Yeah, facts.
That just like
and PJ Tucker there now is wild.
Running in transition.
Easton.
And Daniel House, that's really like just the Rockets, man. Like, I was gonna go get Clint Capella. Trade Embiid for Clint Capella. Let's do it. Yeah, I wonder, is that he might still be on Philly's bench? Yeager might be, or maybe Nick Nurse cleaned out. I don't know. He might have cleaned house because
they're lucky they got a good one now.
It took some time. Wasn't Luke Wall? I think Luke Wall might have been in between Yeager
and Brown.
Mike Brown.
Dude, he was there for like fucking 3 years or something.
Bro, I was talking. I think last time I saw my pops, like we was talking. Or maybe last time we was on the phone or something like that. And we were just saying, like, how did, like, Luke Walton keep getting head coaching jobs? Like, after, like, how did he get another one? Because the Lakers stint was so bad.
Bro, it almost, like, I don't know, kind of not the same comparison because he had, like, good stints. But, like, I can't believe Stan Van Gundy got another job after Detroit. Like, he had a good stint in Orlando, so, like, I get it. Like, he's been a good coach before.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that he got the New Orleans job after what he did in Detroit is crazy.
I like Stan, too. I really do, but
it was the same shit, bro. It was the same. Like, this spacing is fucking dog. Why do you have Steven Adams out here by his eye?
He's very outdated, which is so fucking hilarious because those Orlando teams were, like, the most spaced out team in basketball at that time. You go from that to starting fucking Josh Smith at the small forward, and then you got Steven Adams, Eric Bledsoe, Zion, Brandon Ingram. Like, Stan's a funny dude, man. He's just outdated for making decisions in the NBA. Great commentator, though. I actually enjoy like hearing him call games.
Steve Clifford getting the Charlotte job, like I don't know how he got that.
That was such a weird hire.
I was a little surprised that Frank Vogel got the Suns job. Not too surprised because he did win a chip with the Lakers, but also like they wanted him out of there so bad.
He was scapegoated, man. Frank's a good coach.
He was scapegoated.
He's not great, but he's good.
Where was he? Was he on
Indiana? He was in Indiana. He was in Orlando.
I think Orlando's what I'm thinking of, where he was at before the Lakers.
I don't remember those teams were good or like competitive at all.
I think they were mid.
Were those like the 8 seed teams? Or was that Steve Clifford when he was there?
I think that was Clifford.
I like Vogel though. I like Vogel. Bro, that interview with Stan and Dwight, yeah, that was very, very. You could tell it was forced. It was cringe.
Oh, I think I was actually more thinking of him in Indiana, being with the Paul George teams. Yeah.
Yeah, because I forget who was coaching the Pacers before, but they were very mid. But then when he took over, like they were good, especially defensively. And that's how the Lakers. You could tell his defensive orientation was all over that team on those few seasons until they like depleted the roster and made it to where you have to rely on Carmelo Anthony to play defense and Malik Monk to play a lot of defense. But outside of that, like those Lakers teams were very good defensively. Phoenix is going to be – he's going to have an uphill battle trying to get those guys to be a competitive defensive team. Yeah, it's Jim O'Brien. Yep. Right. That guy.
When I hear O'Brien and head coach, I don't get good vibes, bro. NFL pill.
Good little B. Yeah.
I got 2 questions for you guys. I'm gonna give you guys before we wrap it up here, before we get too late. First off, because I did guarantee everyone that we would address this when it happened right after our stream ended last week. Shea was put number 8, and AD was number 10, with LeBron being ahead of him.
Atrocity, man. It's disgusting. It's nasty, man. I don't like it. I don't like
it's
it.
Nasty.
You can maybe talk.
Don't love it.
Don't love it. You can maybe talk me into like him over Bron. Like you could probably talk me into that. But the fact Book's out of the top 10 above Anthony Davis.
He's never made the playoffs as a number 1 option, bro. Devin Booker has made the fucking NBA Finals as a number 1 option, and not even as like a 1A, 1B. No, Chris Paul was good, but Devin Booker was 1. Chris Paul was 2, and Ayton was 3. He was a number 1 option on a Finals team.
It's so funny seeing it like reverse because when Book was putting up great numbers on non-playoff teams, everybody's like, "Oh, empty stats. He's not that good. Want to be Kobe? Blah blah blah." Shea's putting up great numbers on non-playoff teams. He's all NBA, top 10 in the league. Bro, nah.
Hold up, scroll up. I forget. I know Book was at 11, but who was like 12 and such?
I think Jimmy was 12.
Yeah. Oh, this is only 10 to 1.
Yeah, Jimmy has led
the entire list here.
Jimmy has led his team to the finals, bro. He led his team to the NBA Finals in 2 of the last 4 seasons. Is in the conference finals 3 out of the last 4 seasons. I know he doesn't have the same fucking stats in the regular season, but he's a better defender. Like,
okay, this is only 150. That's not helpful.
They're both free throw merchants, anyways. There's no way. Shea should be like right next to like Anthony Edwards, to be honest. Also, Kawhi at 24 is still fucking ridiculous compared to Shea at 8.
John Moran at 35. Like, come the fuck on, man. Kyrie at 34. Come on, man. This list was just overall just gross. It was bad.
Bro, was it like Trey? And I'm like notably a Trey hater, but Trey was low as fuck while still having high level production on like an 8 seed. Shea had high level offensive production because like he has a better defensive ceiling, but he wasn't playing defense like that.
Wow.
And over Mitchell
it's
is
all
crazy.
time.
Now, I will say we talked about the list last week, and I
Apparently,
do
the top
think that
50 list doesn't exist.
the
They're
list had it
projecting
like
some,
it was definitely projecting.
but also I don't.
Look me in the eyes and tell me that Sabonis is better than Kawhi. Like, no, he's not even better than Fox. Sabonis is not better than De'Aaron Fox.
AD at 10, like Anthony Davis is the best player in the Lakers now. I just think that's a fact.
No, to me, AD
For
is the
sure.
10th best player in the league.
He's
LeBron
not
is
much
like-
above LeBron, but
Yeah,
I have Dame at 9.
I still think Bron's top 15. I still think Bron's a top 15 player, which is commendable. But like
everybody above Shea
For
is
sure.
in my top 10. It's just the fact that I have like Book at like 8, Dame at 9, AD at 10, LeBron at 11. 12 and beyond, then you can start talking about players of Shea's caliber, like Anthony Edwards, like Donovan Mitchell, like
Jimmy. That's Jimmy range, bro. Like, Zion at 57. if you get 50 games out of Zion, that's a top
fucking
20
Ingram is like
player
high as
basketball.
fuck, bro. Like, make it make sense. Ingram misses so much time, and nobody.
And Ingram
fucking
played
talks about
16 more games than Zion
And-
last year. Like,
this guy still gets 7th.
yeah,
Like Kawhi gets taxed, but AD is just
Yeah.
chilling here.
yeah.
it. AD doesn't get taxed.
This is my thing. If you're not gonna tax KD, Anthony Davis, you can't tax Kawhi too much because Kawhi played like 50 plus games last year.
Nah, I'm all for
And he's
injury
healthy going
tax.
into this season. But this seems a little egregious, man. Like Zion at 57.
I'm all for injury tax, but it has to be a consistent injury tax.
Give me the 29 games out of Zion last season over everything Jared Allen did last year.
If Ja Low because of a suspension, like it's not even like an availability issue. Like it's literally just like some shit happened off the court. But if this is the ranking of who's better at basketball, no way.
Bro.
You can't convince me Ja below like low 20s at the worst.
He's top 25 at worst, man. Like, my opinion. Jeez. Yeah,
The
CJ
Jamal
was
Murray
over Zion.
is
That's
ridiculous too. The Jamal Murray
That's
pick
expected
was
though because
high.
I've seen it all offseason, just people just ranking him absurdly high, and that's just like, bro,
Jay,
regular season matters.
NBA
too.
addict. Jay had him over Luka on the point guard list.
That's drunk. He was drunk. He had to be drunk. It's just like I get playoffs are important, but the regular season still matters too. Like
Definitely.
the 82 games definitely matter. If that's the case, we should just start the season in April. If that's the case, like
Franz Wagner over Zion. That's a Devin take.
that is not a Devin take. Don't put that on me.
I hope Zion plays like 55 games this year and just like shuts everybody up.
Yeah,
I'm hoping.
Man.
Zion's playing 80 games this year, bro.
If he plays 80 games, that'd be crazy.
Honestly, listen, if Zion played 65 games and average normal Zion numbers and the Pelicans are a top 4 seed,
I was gonna say this earlier. Sneaky MVP guy.
he's the dark horse MVP, bro. just stop if he plays.
There's no way this guy has played 65 games.
That's what I'm saying. But
Bro,
if he does,
year
but
two,
if he
year
does,
I think he played like 60.
but
in
if
a
he
shortened
does,
season. I think in year 2 he played like 60 in the shortened season. Maybe he gets that luck again. Maybe it's there. I don't know.
bro,
Might
he
be.
has to. There's no way that he doesn't. Or his career is done. He's finished.
I'm gonna say Kawhi's the best in the league at 100%, but he's top 5 at worst.
He's not better than Jokic or Giannis or Curry.
You can
Luka
talk
and
me
Embiid.
And Giannis, I can make
You
any
can
argument.
you can talk me into Luka and Embiid.
You could talk me into Curry too. I think you could maybe talk me into Curry at this point, but
Yeah, Clay was really highly ranked too.
I don't get it. Like, I don't get it. Clay had a good year last year. Come on.
See, I'm also low on LaMelo because that man never stays healthy, and they're injury taxing on this list. But like, once again,
Yeah,
the
like-
injury taxing was not consistent
Yeah, like none of us had LaMelo top 10 on our point guards list. So
Yeah.
because he
Even
literally
in
like
better
he
players.
can't stay healthy.
LaMelo disrespect has been a bit much lately, health or not. It's been a lot. Like, I feel like he's been talked about like a whole tier or two below guys like Garland, and he shouldn't be. Like, he's very comparable players.
He's on tier with Garland.
Yeah.
I think he's on tier with probably Halliburton, and you guys know how high I am on Halliburton. It's just the hell,
bro. LaMelo, when he was on the court, like, bro, he was really, really good last year.
Him and Halliburton are a very similar player to me. Very similar.
In the Hornets were low key winning like games when he was healthy. Like, not like a lot, but they like beat the Bucks. Dude. They beat some good teams. Like,
Garrett is cooking. Drew Holiday. If somebody asked me right now who's the most overrated player in basketball, I'm giving them Drew Holiday and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
I could get behind that. Before I wasn't seeing the Shai stuff, but now I understand. Like,
no, the Shai stuff has been egregious. Like, you guys are saying
these
like
are the same.
Like, Shai shit is insane.
These are the same fucking outlets that had Taylor Horton-Tucker ranked above this man on the under 25 list.
If Shai's at 15 next to Anthony Edwards and Donovan Mitchell, I'm cool. Great. But at 8 is just fucking
top 10. Top 10 is just like a big stamp. Like, that's like a stamp of
over Damian Lillard, bro. Why is Damian Lillard not like in the top 10?
It took Tatum a long time to get top 10 status. It took him a while. Shai got it after his first like all-star season. Crazy.
Tatum is on the verge of becoming top 5, bro. Like I think at a certain point he's just gonna be better than Embiid. Because I think Embiid's just the way he's built is just like I think he'll fall off sooner than later.
This might be homerish, but I think you can make a decent argument right now.
Well, I mean, I have Embiid at like 5 in the league and Tatum at 6.
I think you can make a really good argument.
Yeah, there's definitely an argument.
I don't know if I would, but I think you can make a really like strong case for it.
For sure.
I don't know if he's overtaking Luka at 4, but Luka's just so much of the offensive engine. It's hard to.
Yeah.
However, the argument of like
again, you can make a case.
A winner forever.
You can make
always in the conference finals.
I think I would take. I would still take Luka too, but you can make a damn good case for Tatum. Tatum's on par with a lot of those guys. Like Giannis, Jokic, those guys are kind of like by themselves at the top. Curry's still obviously up there. Curry's still so damn good. MVP Curry, Luka, Embiid, Tatum. Then I think it's a decent drop off. Like if you have like Kevin Durant down, like that's fine.
I don't know. My 6 to 8 usually sticks with like Tatum, Booker, and KD in some sort of order. And then like I said, like my 9-10 is Dame and AD, LeBron at 11. And then like after that is like that tier of like the Anthony Edwards, the Jaylen Brown, the Donovan Mitchell, the Jimmy Butler. Like all these guys are kind of in a similar tier of like the lower part of that top 15.
I would say the gap between like KD, Book compared to Tatum, I think it's grown a little bit. I think the gap between Book and KD is kind of evident too.
I would agree. I think it gets narrowed pretty soon because I think Book could narrow it, Anthony Edwards could narrow it, Shai could narrow it. I think there's a few guys who could start to close that gap, but I think for right now, I'd agree.
Yeah.
You think KD is that much better than Booker?
No, I think Book. I would probably have Book as the best player on that team right now.
Okay, I was about to say. I was like, I think Devin Booker is the best player on that roster.
Yeah, I still think KD's like very good, but you factor in like his health. He's not the same like attacking the rim as he was. Like he doesn't do it nearly as often. Like defensively, he's not as good as he was in his prime. Like he's still great, but he's not like closer to top 5 than what he probably is like 10.
I mean, I saw in the playoffs, like Booker can go shot for shot with KD, and Booker's the better playmaker. KD, like you said, doesn't like impress me that much on defense anymore.
It's like, bro. That's Devin Booker's team.
Nah, Booker claimed that team in the playoffs.
It's Booker's team. Yeah, like go watch their playoff series.
Book was amazing all up until that last game 6. Like that's when he flamed out.
He was awesome. Like that's why I hate when people are like Devin Booker, he's not a playoff riser because of the elimination games, but I don't care.
Like
a series is more than just the last game of the series. The series is
KD was
7 games.
KD was shot chugging. He was missing a lot of shots in the playoffs, man. Like, I don't know, his efficiency, especially in that Denver series, were rude. Were very rude.
Definitely. In the interest of time, I'm going to move to our next question here and wrap it up right away because I know we got some early mornings. But I want to ask you guys before we see a game of an NBA regular season this year, preseason NBA champion picks. Who do we got?
Ooh. Like finals or just like who's winning it all?
Who's winning it all?
I'm going Boston. I'm sticking with my gut. I'm going Boston.
We haven't seen a repeat since the Warriors, so I'm not gonna pick Denver. In which case, I'm going to pick Milwaukee. I think Dame is gonna get it.
Okay.
I'm with it. That's where I'm riding for now too. I had Milwaukee last year and they added Dame, so I gotta stick with them. Milwaukee's still my pick, but I think Boston's got a shout. And I don't hate the Nuggets going back to back either, Garrett. I'm a little bit worried about back to back fatigue, but I think there's very much going to be in the mix.
Let me ask y'all, give me a dark horse team that could win it all.
I want to say the Warriors, but I don't consider that dark horse.
I actually think it is because
I think to me
there's tiers to contenders and they're more in like that can win a championship. I don't know if they're necessarily like looked at as like true contenders just because of like the Bucks, the Celtics.
Are they on the same tier as like? Do you guys think the Warriors are on the same tier as like the Suns and the Lakers?
Kinda, yeah.
Because I think the Lakers would be my like dark horse pick because I don't think they're favorites, but I think people.
I was thinking LA. I think that would be my dark horse team.
Because I think we all know who the top three contenders are, but like outside of that, like really, there's nobody else in the East. Because I think the next best teams in the East is like Cleveland and New York, and I'm not gonna say they're winning a title.
If the Knicks, yeah,
no,
the Knicks made it to the conference finals,
and I'm not putting Miami there. I'm not doing it.
So. No. They would just have to keep proving me wrong. They would have to keep proving me wrong.
So yeah, it ends up being one of those
mid-round, first-round pick in a long time.
Garrett, I'm glad you said that, man. Some of us on the pod had the Clippers extremely low last week in our rankings.
Some of us on the pod had the Clippers missing the playoffs, and by people I mean me because I've literally never been a Clippers fan in my life.
Bro, I was watching Through the Wire. They did their Western Conference predictions. It just made me realize how like stacked and deep the West is this year because like their order was so different from any of our lists. Like it was bad. I think the only thing they had in common was like Denver at 1. Everything else was just all over the place.
Yeah, were any of them low on Memphis or was that just me?
I think D Mills had Memphis at 10.
Would have him there.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one.
He must have been watching the pod and agreed.
He was watching me, bro. There's a D Mills comment on my very first video on my YouTube channel, so he might have been him, bro.
That's dope. Clippers would beat the Suns in the season. I could see that. I'm not high on Phoenix at all. I like Book. I like KD.
I'm medium on Phoenix. I think I'm higher on them than most people because most people are like really low. But I do think I'm very like middle of the road. Like I'm not thinking like, oh, they're gonna win the title, but I do think their ceiling is like the second best team in the conference.
Yeah,
which means they're a lucky break away from like a title.
I almost put them at my 1 seed in the predictions, but I had to factor in KD missing time because it's probably happening. And Beal missing time because that's probably happening. So, but
yeah, for sure.
Something about the Clip, I don't know what it is, man. Maybe it's just the concern with PG and Kawhi being healthy when it matters. Like that might be what it is, but it's something about them, man. That's just
they're like New Orleans, bro. Like they might be in and out and they might be healthy sometimes, but they're never healthy in April.
Yeah, if it just like struck all of a sudden and everybody's healthy. They have a chance because Kawhi's that good. They have a chance. I don't know if I can gamble on that.
Kawhi every 5 years, bro. 2014, 2019, 2024.
Also, the Warriors might be, man, they ain't won a championship since 2022, man. That clock's ticking. If the Golden State Warriors win another championship, there's going to be some serious, like, Steph agendas being pushed, man. Like,
It really is.
Oh, Steph over Kobe agendas will be fucking rampant. Because if they win another title, Steph's getting that Finals MVP. Nobody else on that team is that good. So he'll have 2 Finals MVPs. So he'll have 5 rings with 2 Finals MVPs, the same as Kobe does. But then that first ring, he was the best player on that team, even though he didn't get it.
More rings than LeBron.
Yeah, more rings than LeBron, but like directly with Kobe, like Kobe had 3 with Shaq.
In LeBron's era at that.
Like Curry would have had 2 with KD, 3 without him. Would have won with essentially 3 different situations, even though he's had Clay and Dre the whole time. Like 2015 versus the KD Warriors versus the modern Warriors getting to like 3 different situations.
If he wins
one team, whole career, unanimous MVP, multi-time MVP, more MVPs than Kobe, regular season wise.
The third MVP on the way.
If he won MVP this year and they like got the shit, like bro, he might actually get like.
I don't think both happens. I don't think
a lot of times, like right. If you ask me right now, my 6th best player of all time is probably like Tim Duncan. He's on that level. Curry's on that level if they win a title this year.
The conversation,
an argument for it.
Yeah, the conversations would definitely be there for sure. It's just, I don't know. It's crazy just to think about because you asked me 10 years ago, where did I think Steph Curry would end up? Just a guy. Just a good player.
Jag.
Never would have thought.
A Jag, man. Just a good player. Just a guy.
But yeah, now it's a legitimately
they got opportunity.
A title away from. You gotta stop with this Oscar talk, bro.
Does Garrett have Oscar like top like 7 or something like that?
It has to be like something fucking stupid.
This is why I just don't do all-time rankings because I
just don't have basketball conversations with Garrett, bro.
Just can't. I can't get into it, man.
I don't think
either way you're disrespecting somebody's era. Like I just can't do it, man. I can't.
Yeah, it's very tough. It's very tough. But between Curry and parity of the West and everything else we're talking about, it's going to be an interesting season this year. There's no doubt about it. This time next week when we're here talking, we'll have the NBA regular season underway. So we'll finally get to actually make some reactions, although way too early reactions, but nonetheless start to get some takeaways from everything we've been talking about for what feels like forever now over the last few months. But with that being said, we will see you guys next week. We thank everyone who did show up throughout the stream today. In the interest of us being able to show up to work tomorrow morning, we will wrap it up for this week. But we appreciate your guys' continued support. If you haven't hit the like button yet, be sure to do so. And be sure to hit that subscribe button so you do stay tuned when we start chatting about the NBA regular season next week. But we hope you guys have a good rest of your week, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Yeah.